makes me feel like a man.
You want every team to lose any other game? Hurry. Bailey Zappi just put another dime. You know what? Whoa, time out. Are you kidding? That's what I'm gonna try to drop a mic.
Welcome to the Warner Brothas Podcast. My name is Keenan, joined by my brother Kyle. Unfortunately, for a little bit of time at least, this is going to be the last pod we do in person. Time in Tennessee, how has it been?
It's been fun.
Yes.
It's been fun. I've been here for about a week and a half, about 10, 11 days, leaving tomorrow afternoon. It's been a lot of fun. It feels like I've been here like 3 full weeks.
Yeah.
It's weird because when my first flight came up on Friday, it felt like I'd only been here a couple days, but now it feels like I've been here forever, which isn't bad, but I am ready to get home.
Yeah, I bet. I was gonna say, get back into your normal routine. Obviously, we went out last night for New Year's. That place was fun. That was the same place we went to the karaoke night. That place was a zoo. It was packed, of course, because it's New Year's. So that was a good time as well. I've had
Wonderland.
I was gonna say, shouts out to Wonderland. Anyone from Johnson City or anyone who's been to Johnson City, they know about it. But you have spent 2 football Sundays here. This football Sunday a little bit more impactful than last Sunday, but that's what's going to happen as you get to week 17, 18 in the playoffs, so on. Is there any place you wanted to start specifically with this one? Or because like the Ravens obviously are a hot topic. Chiefs pulled out a win. You got the Packers now in position to move. There's a lot of places we can start. Is there anything on your mind that you feel you need to touch upon right this moment?
I can't wait. I cannot wait. We get a full divisional slate for week 18.
Yeah.
Usual.
Yep.
You had told me last night Ravens Steelers is the first Saturday.
Ravens Steelers and then Colts Texans, and then Sunday night is Dolphins and Bills.
So, the games everyone will have all their eyes on, 2 out of the 3 have true implications. Like there's implications for the Steelers in that Ravens one.
Yeah.
Still kind of trying to wrap my head around that one. I feel like if the Ravens don't really need that, they could have just thrown that on 1
Yeah.
PM. I feel like there's maybe other games. I haven't seen the whole schedule yet.
No, there are definitely some other games that I felt could have gotten consideration. If the Ravens would have lost per se, this game would have made so much sense because it still would have been fighting for a seeding position. The Ravens would need to play, but now the Ravens have the 1 seed locked up, so it's kind of a little odd. But again, it's Steelers-Ravens, so like something chaotic will probably happen, like it always does.
Yeah, and no, we had a wild weekend. I mean, hey, the Bills are where I thought they would be at this point. They've got, 3-4 game win streak now?
I think they're on a 4-game win streak right now, and they're 10-6. The weird thing with the Bills is they can either be the 2 seed or they could be out of the playoffs, which is crazy. They have other options, but if they lose to the Dolphins and then the Steelers win and I believe it's the Colts. If the Steelers and Colts both win, they would be out of the playoffs. So they'll know going into Sunday night if it's a do or die game for them or if it's a game that they can afford to lose, but obviously would want to win for the division regardless. So it's going to be interesting to see how that seeding plays out throughout the day.
Yeah, that's going to be a mini playoff game regardless. Both teams are going to want to win that, especially after the Dolphins game against the Ravens this week.
I understand. Now looking at the schedule, I kind of understand why they added that game. Like the only other, because like Minnesota's now out, so it's Minnesota, Detroit, Cleveland, Cincinnati. Cleveland's pretty much locked into the 5s, and Cincinnati's out. The only other game possibly would have been like Tennessee Jags, but that's not as good of a game. So I don't really, or like Seattle, Arizona, just because Seattle needs to fight in. But there's not any other spots where 2 teams can fight for it. It's really just 1 team fighting for it. So it's actually not a bad game that they chose. So I thought there was going to be a better one, but there actually wasn't.
I think we should start with Lions-Cowboys, though. I mean, that was really the topic of the weekend. The refs screwed it up.
Twice. It was actually a tripping on Aiden Hutchinson, but they called it on the Cowboys, which would unfortunately, that would have given the Cowboys the first down, so it wouldn't even got to happen to that Detroit play. But that didn't happen. That was a missed call that happens. But then going down, you have the guy reporting eligible. Clearly, it just seems like laziness on all parts. Like obviously, because like throughout the entire game, number 70 was reporting as eligible. Then Taylor Decker, he reports as eligible, but because of how the number 70 ran on, like they were setting that play up all game. Like they knew, like for some reason, I feel like they knew that at some point they're going for 2. They were setting it up all game, and
yeah, I mean the refs were.
We see the outcome.
The refs more or less ignored.
Yeah.
Both guys reporting eligible or whatever happened on that last play. I mean, everything went to design.
Yes.
So it's unfortunate. We did hear that they're going to downgrade those refs for the postseason. Which is cool, but I feel like this stuff should happen more. Because, man, the NFL, I've said it time and time again, it's probably better officiating all around than the NBA.
Yeah.
But, man, in the postseason, it seems like the NFL gets it wrong more often than not than the NBA. I feel like the NBA tightens up in the postseason. Soft, yeah, they're soft year-round, but the NFL, man, it just seems like in the biggest spots, it's incompetence sometimes. That's a big game. That had implications for both teams.
Well, yeah, because now the 49ers play the Rams this weekend. That's also a game that you could have put on. Mm-hmm. Actually, no, think about it. The 49ers play the Rams this weekend. If the Lions win, the Rams could beat the 49ers. And if the Lions would have won, the 49ers lose, the Lions would have gotten the 1 seed. Mm-hmm. Just to be off of having a better record. So, like, it has many implications on it. And with a Dallas win, now the Philly loss hurts even more because now the Philly slides back to the 5 instead of being in the 2 spot. That's on them, though. Like, I'm not trying to make – they lost to Arizona. You can't lose to Arizona in Week 17. But so this game had a lot of implications on seeding. So the same way you want the best 14, then 8 and whatever, keep going on in the playoffs, you want the best – collection of refs. Mm-hmm. And you're right, the NBA, for what they don't do in the regular season, in the postseason, it's very odd. It's not very odd. It's more so rare that you're going to see we're really talking about the refs last game. Like every now and again you'll have it because like it's bound to happen, mm-hmm. but it's never really as like a Nicole Roby Coleman penalty. It's never that egregious. It's never something like that really with the NBA that often. Like it's few and far between with that. So they do get it. They tend to get it right more so in the playoffs than they do in the regular season. They have a looser whistle, I'll say, because it's not instant techs. It's not instant flagrant 1s and 2s because they love to throw those out all the time.
I mean, I think those are pretty instant.
Not as much in the playoffs is what I was meaning. They still throw them like.
I think they're still soft with that stuff. I think what's better is, like you said, they're a lot looser. It's almost 2 different games, honestly.
It really is.
It's really night and day with the physicality they get away with. And, at the end of games, it's all judgment calls. And then, of course, we have to review, which takes 10 minutes. But the judgment calls in the NBA, you're very rarely going to get, a play where someone looks like they get brushed and maybe they call a foul at the end of the game.
Yeah.
They're going to allow more contact there. Whereas the NFL, I guess the NBA comparison would be the block charge. The block charge now has become very ref dependent to where you don't really know what the hell they're going to call or how they're going to call it. And I think that's where the NFL, that's pass interference now. That's intentional grounding. There's so many judgment calls within.
Yeah, Browning got called for an intentional grounding that was ridiculous. Mixon was about 7 yards to the left. He got it past the offensive line. It was not that they were going to win the game because the Chiefs' defense in that 3rd and 4th quarter, they were electric. But, it was a dumb call that obviously sets them back 10 yards, and that completely changes the entire complexion of the drive. So, it was late game, too.
No, I just think there's a ton of rules in the NFL, and I mentioned this before, that it's just all right, well, what's the call now? Well, what are,
even a catch is still, a catch is
what's a catch, what's not a catch, what's interference, what's not, what's holding, what's not. I mean, it's a lot.
Because, with a catch, it's either 2 steps and a football move or 3 steps. And then, if you get the 2 steps, it's what do you consider a football move? What do you consider a football move? Because, what you consider a football move could be a touch different than what I do because that's a subject to the refs. And, obviously, sometimes it feels like it's just weird. It's a tough job. I'm not going to make it sound like it's not. But, again, that's like when we were talking about, I think a couple months ago, how refs, I'm not sure exactly how it is now, but how refs during the week were just doing like their regular 9 to 5 jobs and then reffing on the weekend. Like for refs, if you're going to do it, it should be a full-time thing. You should be meeting throughout the week. You should be going over things, practicing. I don't know how in-depth they do it now. I hope that's what they're doing, and I hope they just need to do a better job at that, if that's the case. But reffing should be the same as a player. Not that you have to have the same regimen, but you should be, if we're paying millions of dollars all over, billions of dollars even, for these games and every aspect of it, we shouldn't be paying cheap for the refs because they're now deciding games. They have been for a while, but yes.
Yeah, it's a scary endeavor, honestly. I mean, it's always my fear going into the NFL postseason. It's like, okay, the deeper we get, will something be decided by the refs? I mean, you could even go back to the Romo Dez catch at Green Bay. That's one where you still play it to this day. That looks like a catch. And you know what I mean? I mean, you get a ton of... It seems like you get something like that every year. Granted, that one's ref discretion.
I would say that one's tough. And, like, obviously that wasn't definitively Dallas was going to win the game. Aaron Rodgers got the ball with, like, 3 minutes left. And we know what Aaron Rodgers does. But
I mean, if that one wasn't a football move, Dez takes about 2 or 3 steps, lunges for the end zone, and they didn't call it a catch. Yeah. I mean, it just seems like there's something like that every year.
Yeah.
But, I mean, look, both conferences, as it is right now, have, I would say just about every team looks to be some sort of threat, at least competitive. Even in the AFC right now, it looks competitive.
Because here's the thing. There's the Ravens, there's the Niners, there's everyone else. That's it in both conferences. There's everybody else. Because you could tell me the Browns, the Bills, the Chiefs, they went to the AFC Championship game. I'd believe it. And then maybe the Texans, they get on a magical run or something like that. That'd be the other.
I can't say the Texans. I mean, they've done.
See, that guy couldn't. AFC Championship game, no. Divisional round, yes.
Right.
I think they would like kind of like the Jags were last year. They'd stop at the divisional round. But those 3 teams, the Browns, the Bills, the Chiefs, and the Dolphins. I don't believe the Chiefs will personally, but like if you told me Mahomes found a way to get 2 playoff games, I could believe it. The Bills, I would definitely believe it. The Dolphins depends on the matchup, and then the Browns, I absolutely believe it.
I would say I'm off the Chiefs and Dolphins. Chiefs look better this week. And
they did.
Chiefs, one thing you can say, Chiefs are tough, like a legitimately physically tough team.
They can run and they can play defense, and then when you have Mahomes and Andy Reid to make a few special plays, that's why I can't count them out. I still have them. They're behind they're still behind the Bills. They're behind the Browns. They're behind the Ravens on a day-to-day.
You take a better quarterback this weekend. If that's Burrow this week instead of Browning, we would say the Bengals don't win that game.
If that's Burrow instead of Browning, the Bengals, I'm probably like the 1 or 2, like they're right behind the Ravens. But like obviously, maybe
they were still in the thick of it.
Yeah, no, I'm saying like
I'm
saying for how confident I'm in them. Like sure. I think they'd be exactly where I feel about the Bills, where it's like they're fighting to get in. They should get in, and if they do, they can easily go on a run. That's my feeling. I think that was what my feeling was on it before Burrow got injured. But yeah.
Yeah, I'd say my confidence rankings, especially after this week with the Ravens, would be AFC Ravens 1, Bills 2, as far as confidence, and then the Browns 3.
I actually have the Browns at 2.
Interesting.
I really
That's
do.
Really
really do. There's nothing about Joe Flacco is in such a mode of like, I'm going to just do it. Like, I'm going to go throw it. I'm going to probably turn the ball over. Like, I'm liable. But he's been 4 straight 300-yard games. He's had either 2 or 3 touchdowns in every single game he's played this year throwing. It's like he's actually been doing very well at quarterback. He's Amari Cooper, as Amari Cooper said, it's poetry in motion with him in a pocket. And clearly, last game Amari played was 11 for 265. He's got a great relationship with Amari. Njoku's been playing some of the best football he ever has. Elijah Moore has a decent connection with as well. Jerome Ford out of the backfield has become even more of a receiving threat. They've got Kareem Hunt. So offensively, you've made up for the loss of Nick Chubb as well as you can with Jerome Ford and Kareem Hunt. Obviously, Nick Chubb is still your best offensive player. They can run for sure. And then defensively, they can get after you. And if you get late in game, there's not a better player, arguably, in the league that you're going to say, I need a sack, Miles, get him. Like, I need a play, Miles Garrett, go get him. Like, you're not going to find anyone better in the league, people that's comparable, but not better. So that's why they're a little bit, I have them a little bit over the Bills for me, just because I trust their defense a little bit more. But the Bills' defense has definitely shown up, and they're showing out over the last few weeks, especially with the injuries they've had.
Yeah, I just think with the Bills, I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm patting my own back here, but back in week 12 when I said that they would probably go on a run and make the playoffs, I think with them, they've been playing playoff games basically since week 12. And when you're in that situation, I favor them over the Dolphins this week. Like, I'll just say right now, I got the Bills winning this week. Yeah. And when you go into the playoffs, basically playing 6 straight playoff games, you're playing with no fear at that point. You're like, whatever, we've been doing this for 6 weeks. That's why I think, especially if they win this week, they're the most dangerous team going in. Granted, the Ravens are coming off of 2 of the best wins you'll ever have back-to-back. It looks like Lamar cemented MVP.
Yeah, I've got some. When we talk Lamar fully, one thing I do want to say though is I'm playing Lamar for a half in week 18. I can't, because all I can think about is 3 years ago he wins his unanimous MVP. They sit out. He's out for 3 weeks. You have a Titans team coming off a win against the Patriots. They head into Baltimore, and they beat him because the Ravens are rusty in the first half, can't get it going in the second. I'm playing him for I'm playing him at least getting like a preseason like 3-4 series, because if he's not playing from the 31st to then like the 21st, like that's almost a month of just not playing football, like competitive football at all. And then what you're going to have is a team, maybe the Bills, say they lose, say the Bills lose or even win. Maybe you have the Bills coming in there red hot. And we've seen it so many times, like even in baseball, where team will coast to the World Series. They'll wait to 11 days. I mean, the Red Sox won the World Series against the Cardinals that way. So you see that so often. That rest can kind of be a benefit, but it also be a curse.
Yeah, I think it'll help the Ravens. They got quite a bit of injuries. So
it'll definitely help the 49ers. They have with McCaffrey being dinged up here. They'll definitely help them. For
sure. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I think they should play at least a half, especially with it being the Steelers. I can't imagine they'll just sit everybody. So yeah, I would imagine they'll play at least a half. Especially with the Saturday game. I don't know. And even honestly, if they played Huntley the whole game, I think it'd still be a competitive game.
Oh, it was going to be competitive regardless. I just think for Lamar's, literally just for Lamar's sake. Like, I would sit people like Odell, who are like, he doesn't need to play in that game. Like, you want Odell for the playoffs to make big catches. He doesn't need to prove himself or anything like that. But I just, with the rhythm Lamar's played with the last 2 games, I just don't want him to lose any of that rhythm, because he's been playing obviously best quarterback in the league over the last few weeks. So
Steelers are very interesting to me because, we thought it was what's his name, Matt Canada.
Yeah.
It turns out all they needed was Mason Rudolph, who's been on their roster for a few years.
Mason. The Steelers make no sense at QB.
They make no sense. Period.
They just make no
sense. They don't make any sense. They look like the ugliest offense, and they put Mason Rudolph in there, and their offense all of a sudden gets some verticality to it, gets some explosion to it, gets some competence to it. Like, you can actually count on them to make a 3rd and 8 or a 2nd and 13.
That's what they could have done. I mean, they've had the personnel for it all season long. It's legitimately just came down to the play calling and the quarterback. And now this quarterback
looks more like the quarterback.
Yeah, I was saying, it seems like Mason's stretching the ball and willing to throw outside the numbers up the field. And she's just playing like, if I turn the ball over, I'm going to turn it over. Kenny was like playing for his job, so he was tentative. And then Mitchell Trubisky's just not good, so he was. And not that Pickett's great either, but like Trubisky's just not good, so he could run a little bit and kind of throw. But Mason Rudolph is like, you know what? I've played in the system before. I was a 3rd stringer. What am I going to lose? Like, I'm just going to go out there. Pickens is good on a deep ball. I'm going to hit him. Like, just and go stand the thing. So he's definitely playing. Like, if Pickett's healthy, and they make the playoffs, I'm going with Rudolph. Stick for him for the year. There's no reason to sit out.
Yeah, I'm very interested in them as, what their quarterback situation looks like next year. I mean, we talk about these other teams who are in the draft, or picking at the top of the draft. Steelers are going to be a team I'm looking forward with. who's their quarterback next year? Do they get a vet? Do they get in on the Russell Wilson sweepstakes?
I would get on. I would definitely. I thought Matthew Stafford was going to be out there possibly, but now with how the Rams are doing, I think they'll probably try to run it back with him again. That'd be the smart thing to do. But I was going to say someone like that, Russell Wilson, Matt Stafford, that veteran quarterback, because their defense is ready. Their offensive pieces are ready. They don't need someone to gel with right now. You could even sit Pickett for another year. It'd be weird for his development, but even so, we see how sitting long for the Packers has worked. They look like Packers quarterback reminds you of the Steelers coaching staff. It's like, okay, we're just going to get one guy who's going to be super good for a long period of time and then transition him into the next guy. Because we don't know if Love's going to be like a superstar like Favre and Rodgers, but right now he's looking the part of being at least a franchise guy. There's not too many young quarterbacks that you're like, yeah, I'd definitely take him over Jordan Love right now. He's playing great.
Sure. And, like I said in the AFC, as far as, the Ravens have definitely taken that next step.
Yep.
I could still see them getting beat, right? And
because they do it to themselves. That's what I would do.
And I guess it's because, we still haven't seen them in at least an AFC Championship game in this Lamar era. And he's still pretty young in his career, so that's no fault of his own. He missed the last 2 postseasons. But, overall, the AFC still seems top to bottom decent. Still seems competitive in this playoff race, whereas before it seemed wide open. Now it seems like, to me, again, the Ravens and the Bills have asserted themselves. If you believe in the Dolphins, cool. They definitely got the talent. Like you said, the Browns, they should be in there. Whereas the NFC, all season I felt Niners, Eagles, Cowboys, maybe the Lions. And now after the Niners, I honestly have no clue. I have no clue about the Cowboys. I have no clue about the Lions.
The Lions are the team I have the most clue about, and it's because I don't think that they're a championship team. Because the thing about it was the 49ers are clear-cut the favorites by far. Mm-hmm. The Eagles I have no confidence in. They can't play defense, and their offense doesn't seem to be clicking at all right now. They've had the problems of not being really able to play defense all season. The offense has been, but they were winning games, and we felt that it was just going to okay, they're building up. They're trying to figure things out. A bunch of new coaches, new players, people gone. But they just haven't rolled. They haven't been rolling this year. It's fine. It happens. If they don't win it all, they don't win it all. I don't have confidence in them to go on a 4 playoff game streak to win a Super Bowl right now. I have no faith in that. They would honestly be behind the Lions for me and the Cowboys for me. I think the Cowboys and Lions are second and third. And I think if they were to play 10 times, you would see a couple Lions blowouts, a couple Cowboys blowouts, and then you would see a lot of the games that we saw on Saturday. The Cowboys have the highest ceiling to beat the 49ers. The Cowboys A game can match a 49ers to the best of the ability of someone's A game. But then I trust the Lions to at least be more competent offensively. And not even offensively. I just I guess for the Cowboys, I'm baking in the Cowboys in the playoffs. Because regular season wise, they've won 12 games over the last 3 years. So you can't really say anything about them regular season wise. Playoff wise, you don't know with the Lions, but I like their makeup. And then with the Cowboys, you've just seen so much heartbreak and just so much cowboy that I almost have more faith in the Lions than the Cowboys. But I think the Cowboys they have a higher ceiling than the Lions. It's weird. That's weird, but you're right.
With you. The Cowboys have the highest ceiling. Maybe your pick to beat the Niners, and it would, like you say, A game. I say I would take their A+ game.
Oh, I take an A++ game. I just meant it has to be a 100 game for them.
With me, first of all, I think both teams showed me something Saturday as far as that was a defensive battle, and the Lions kind of more than held their own. They should have won the game.
Yeah, Hutchinson's a problem. When Hutchinson's that, that's when the Lions can actually be dangerous because he was changing the game himself.
And it was a dome game.
Yeah.
That being said, look, if the Lions still had to go to Philly, however the standings shake out, Jared Goff in cold weather, it just hasn't been great. And when it comes down to it, the 3 teams, just the Cowboys, Lions, and the Eagles after the Niners, look, Mike McCarthy, I don't think he should be coaching for his job by any means.
No.
He should be the Cowboys coach next year.
Yeah.
But he's still got, he's got a ring, but look, Andy Reid, before he got his rings, he got this tag on him like, yeah, he just wasn't good at game managing. And I don't believe McCarthy's good at game
I
managing.
mean, we'd be
still.
talking more about the game management if they complete that
That
ball,
was
because
unbelievable.
it was
That was
terrible.
unbelievable. They could have ran the clock down to probably 40 seconds, definitely under a minute.
Yeah.
And he's throwing on first and long, second and long, and then I think they threw it on third. I
Yes.
could be wrong
No,
about
they
that, but
they threw it to CeeDee
Oh,
Lamb on
God.
first. They threw it deep to Brandon Cooks on second, and that was the one where I was like, "What are you doing throwing it deep on second down? Like, you didn't need to go for a home run there." And then on third down, I believe they threw it again, and then they had no time, like, because I believe the Lions had a timeout with like $1:40 left, and it was like, okay, what are we doing?
And then not for nothing, Dan Campbell, when they do take the 2-point away,
Yeah.
goes for it 2 more times when you could just take the points and play for overtime, which would have been a 50-50 battle, literally. I mean, it's literally going to be tied, but, I mean, you'd have to feel good about your chances as they were playing to go into overtime. There was no... So
That's I understand. Shout out Ira, by the way. On Madden, we always go road team, go for 2, home team, play for overtime. That's mentally how I always go into Madden games, like if I get that. So I loved him going for 2, like the first time. Once the penalty and the ball comes back to the 7, just kick it. At that point, just kick it, get to overtime. You stole the momentum from the crowd. Like, you stole, like, obviously, like, you stole all the momentum. You went down the field and scored a touchdown late in drive, and Jared Goff looked surgical. You get the ball in overtime, you move on them. The defense has been getting stops. So even if they do get the ball first, you can at least hold them to 3. It made no sense. And then even going from the 3.5, I was like, I knew you were going for it at that point, but you were hopeful. Like, just kick it. Like, it's fine. Just take the points, Dan.
And then the play calls weren't that great. You know? And it's
First
not-
play call was amazing. The second and third ones were, I think he was so set on that first one working that I think like he was just grasping for it. But then like it's almost he got stubborn. It's like, I'm going to do this. Like, we're going to win this way or go down this way. And it's like, just deal with it. Play for overtime. You can play and you can get the win anyways.
Yeah, it's one thing when you're facing a defense. I mean, that's probably the most athletic defense you have in the NFL. So, I mean, they can kind of, on a short 3.5-yard play, they can dial it up a little bit. You still got Michael Parsons. You got DBs who can all make plays.
Yeah.
So I say that to say, you know, when it comes to coaching, which the NFL playoffs is absolutely comes down to coaching, I do trust Sirianni more than those two probably. I mean, McCarthy, like I said, he's a good enough coach to get you into a 2-minute, 1-possession spot. It's what he does after that. Might come out well, might come out not the greatest. But
Thinking about it, all the NFC coaches, honestly, other than McVay, which is why the Rams are even alive to me a little bit, have like some sort of flaw to them.
to some degree,
So
I would at least say,
like Shanahan's just like he can't be trailing in the 4th. Like his
Right.
record trailing in the 4th is terrible,
which is insane.
which is insane because like they've
It's
won
one of
so
those
many
bizarre
games.
stats.
And like McCarthy's time management, Sirianni's time management, and then Dan Campbell, we just don't know. He's like, again, he's at the point where I think he's just a little bit too aggressive at
He's got
times.
hubris. And
Yeah.
I would say I actually like Sirianni's game management most of the time. Like I think him and Shanahan do a good job of coaching situational football management. So I mean, when it comes down to it, I trust Sirianni. It's just that they are absolutely at their lowest point in the season right now. And this Giants team, they're going to want to play spoiler in Week 18. They just played each other last week. That's going to be a closer game probably, especially with Tyrod. And it's unfortunate because with the Eagles, it really comes down to the defense. Their offense is playing good enough. It's not playing great. It's not playing nearly what it was like last year.
No.
They still got the players. They still got the pieces. But, man, they really need it this week because they're certainly going to be playing on Wild Card Weekend, obviously. So, I mean, you need something good coming off that divisional game. You need to treat that like a playoff game going into Wild Card Weekend.
Yeah. It matters more for the divisional, but depending the wild card, it almost could be a better matchup for whoever comes in the 5th seed because you're playing the NFC South. But I mean, also Tampa. I was gonna say Tampa is up and down. Like they're very capable of giving you a game like they played last week, or on Sunday, I should say. And then they're also very capable of putting up 34 on you. So they're a very, very weird team. But like right now, it's the Seahawks and they're just going to be a well-coached team heading to Dallas. As of right now, I believe it's going to be the Seahawks. Unless the Rams lose and then the Seahawks win, they might flip-flop. But it should be Seattle heading to Dallas. And that's not – and as I say, that's not a gimme. We saw this earlier in the season. Literally, and it came down to Dak making great plays down the stretch in a barn burner.
Just imagine Cowboys fans if they lose at home to the Seahawks.
They lose at home to Geno Smith.
Lit them up.
Oh, he did light him up.
Coming off a groin injury. I mean, or maybe it was his elbow at that point. But.
No, he would. It's very possible. It's very possible that the Seahawks know that they're coming in with the better coach. That's all they can say. They'll figure it out from there. I know Mike McCarthy's good. I'm not trying to make it sound like he's not. Pete Carroll's just a better coach than Mike McCarthy. I don't think that's crazy to say. So they're going in with the better coach, and they're going in with the why can't we do it? They can run. They have weapons on the outside. Hey, Seattle going to Dallas is definitely. I've seen crazier upsets in the playoffs. So, and then Rams, Lions.
I hope that's what we get. I hope we get the Stafford Goff trade bowl. I would love that.
Then the Lions easily could lose that, but they easily could win that. And then, like I could see the Lions, the Rams, the Eagles, and the Cowboys all in the A. The only team I really couldn't see in the NFC Championship game is the Seahawks and whatever NFC South team there is.
That was your Super Bowl pick.
That was my Super Bowl pick. I thought they were going to be more cohesive this year, but they're not. I mean, good for them to get to the playoffs, but
yeah, I mean, hey, once you get in,
anything can happen.
And they've been there before. They've been in deep playoff games. They probably don't have the all-around talent, but hey, their defense is playing much better.
I mean, they could get to it. I mean, their path would be beating Dallas or beating Philly. Either one, they probably even match up a little bit better with Philly because you can run on Philly right now, and they've got weapons on the outside. But either way, getting one of those teams, the Lions winning and going to Detroit, that's a winnable game. You beat Detroit week 2. That was obviously week 2. And then if you see San Fran, hey, you know them better than just about any other team in the league. Do I think you're winning? No. But that's your shot. That's your best shot. Like, at least you know them. Like, that's the thing. But, yeah I mean, hey, I don't think it's happening. But yeah, at least you know.
We have it all set up for a rematch of the Christmas primetime game matchup. Niners-Ravens. It's all set up. But who knows? I believe the Niners will be there. Spoiler alert. Ravens, I'm not so sure. But I'm definitely increased in confidence over the last 2 weeks. I mean, that'd be crazy to say.
Yeah.
Didn't. I'm not hating on them at all. The Chiefs even slightly gave me a little more confidence yesterday with their win over the Bengals. They look at least better.
If they win, it's the 2018 Patriot run.
Yeah.
And if they win, it's going to feel like the Patriots win over the Chiefs in 18 when they had to go to Kansas City, like them going to Baltimore and getting a win, an improbable win. Because definitely the Chiefs in that year were definitely just firing on all cylinders. Obviously, that was Mahomes' 50-touchdown season.
And I mean, look, their defense, like I said, it's tough. It's physical. It's one of the better defenses in the league. I just can't picture Mahomes getting a ton out of this receiving core. Unless Kelsey turns it back up, which that's completely possible. I wouldn't rule that out.
I was going to say, Rashee Rice has looked good over the last few, but like MVS is – it's going to come down to MVS, Tony – Justin Watson, McCole Hardman, them making a couple catches, like a couple big-time catches. At some point, they're going to have to.
And you can get to Mahomes. I mean, we've seen.
Their tackles haven't been great this season.
We've seen time after time you can get to Mahomes. You can get through that offensive line. I don't think they're the same team. Like, I don't even. At the end of the day, when it comes to playoff time, I'm probably going to be like, damn, all right, Mahomes. It's going to be tough to beat wherever, whether it's KC, whether it's on the road. I hope we do see him in some road games. But, I mean, yeah, overall, I mean, I do like the Bills better. I do like maybe even the Dolphins a little bit better.
I would love for I want the Bills to win because this would be Mahomes' greatest streak ever if he ever did it. But I'd like for him to have to see, as a 3 seed, you'd have to see the Dolphins at home, then the Bills at Bills, the Ravens at Ravens, and then the 49ers Like if he got through that, like that would be unbelievable. You can call him the second best quarterback of all time after that run. I'm not even kidding. Like you can call. It's not Tom. Like let's know that, but like him and Joe Montana and Peyton Manning can be a conversation if he does that. Is it happening? No.
I guess. I mean, look,
That'd be three. That'd be 2 MVPs, 3 Super Bowls, 4 appearances, and like 6 seasons. So like you would have to at least give like some consideration.
I mean, not just for the sake of argument, but really, I mean, I still don't think Mahomes is as good as Prime Rodgers yet.
I'm fine with that. Like
Prime Rodgers gets more out of this receiving core than what Mahomes has done right now.
I think Prime Rodgers is a hated on. Like Rodgers was Mahomes. He just didn't do. He was just a more efficient Mahomes.
I think he's more accurate.
Yeah, he's a more accurate, more efficient Mahomes. Like his TD to interception ratio, like he
had better pocket presence than Mahomes as far as just.
Mahomes just has a little bit more of the spectacular, and that's like the running around and then like the weirder side angles. But like when it comes to throwing,
Mahomes is more Favre than
it's more
I would say.
Yeah, he's like a mixture of the two a little bit because he has a little bit more control than Favre. That's like Allen has the got more Favre in him, but like he has a lot of Favre in him with a little bit more of Rodgers control. But he's not Rodgers like control wise. I mean, Rodgers went like. Almost a decade without throwing 10 picks in a season.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not saying Mahomes isn't great. I just think he's still going to improve.
You think Aaron
I think
Rodgers
he's still very young in his career.
Yeah, you're just like me, and you're like, okay, even though they're really good, like Mahomes can get better at just taking the underneath. He can get better at doing things like LeBron was really good in 2010, but he still had levels he could get to. Like he still could have. And that's when we get 2016, we get 2018 LeBron, where you're like, oh my goodness. Like the confidence and the understanding of the game matches the talent that you already have. And then you get a guy who's even scarier, which is scary to think because Mahomes is already this good. You're like, okay, he has other levels to get to. Okay. But.
Yeah. And it's going to be interesting because, hey, it truly is 3 seasons.
Yep.
Preseason, regular season, postseason. It's a different pace. It's a different speed. It's a different intensity. Who's going to know that better than the Chiefs?
Mm-hmm.
Ravens been there too. Harbaugh's been there. Bills obviously played in big games. But hey, it's not going to be easy for anybody in the AFC. It's wide open, really, for everybody except for the Niners. And who knows? I mean, we've seen better teams than the Niners get upset. You never really know, but I expect the Niners to be there. They had a good bounce back game.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, between the Lions, Cowboys, Niners, and the rest of that NFC, I really don't know. I don't know. It would sound crazy to say the Eagles would resurge, but I'm holding it out. I think the Eagles have a better resurgence chance than the Chiefs, and that's really insane to say, given that the Chiefs.
I don't. If you said one team was in the conference championship or in the Super Bowl, I would tell you it's the Chiefs over the Eagles right now.
It's fair to say.
Because
I can see why. I mean, the Eagles are at the toughest point.
The Eagles don't do anything great right now. At least the Chiefs play defense great and they run the ball really well. And then you have Mahomes. But again, on a late game drive, you're scared and you're very scared. But because of the receiving core, I don't think it's a lock. Like a few years, like even last year and a couple years ago, especially when they had Tyreek Hill, Kelsey, if you're like, oh man, Mahomes has got a minute left. Please leave us some time.
13 seconds.
Yeah, even 13 seconds. But like if Mahomes has like a minute 20 left, you're like, can you score in like 30, please? So we have 40 in a timeout. Like, can you not waste the time more so? Now it's like, oh, he has to go 80 yards. Like, he could. I don't know though. Like it's actually a question mark.
The thing with the Eagles, I'll say it again. Offensively, they still have a world of talent, and defense, they even still have talent. They have been playing well. Patricia, for some reason, is their DC, which is never good. But if they can get anything out of their pass rush,
it's gonna come down to Hassan Riddick in the pass rush, Jalen Carter.
Yeah, and they got the talent, they got the horses. So if they can just get something out of it for a few defensive possessions a game, because that defense isn't doing anything. That secondary and that linebacking core is offensive, damn near, right?
Yeah.
So If they can get anything, that offense is capable of chewing up clock, is capable of at least getting 7. It's not like they're getting held to field goals constantly here. They're still going to be able to move the ball in, red zone to red zone. But, it's the defense. But, hey, they still got the coaching. They still got Hurts. They got a lot of the pieces from last year. So they should be okay. They should be, but they're playing at their absolute worst over the last month and a half.
Yeah. I want to talk about Lamar real quick. I know we mentioned him a little bit. I want to talk about Lamar more so because I want to read off of these stats to you. I was thinking to myself, I was like, what is Lamar against? Like, his obviously has a case for MVP. His case for MVP is the fact that he's been, like, this year statistically, it's been lower than others, but we haven't really seen any great quarterback statistics. You would really go to Christian McCaffrey. Mm-hmm. And Tyreek Hill kind of fell out because he's not on pace for that 2,000. So he's had, like, I don't want to say a regular great season, but like Justin Jefferson did what he did. Cooper Kupp's done it. So he's had like a regular, amazing season.
Sure.
Christian McCaffrey, over the last few games, he's kind of been a little lesser. So his stats aren't as gaudy and as amazing. Not that he doesn't even deserve consideration. I think he's number 2, but like he hasn't made it to where he's so good like Adrian Peterson was, like the over 2,000, like 9 yards away from the record. Where you're like, okay, we have to give it to him. Lamar's stats against playoff teams. He's 7-2 this year. The losses are coming to Indianapolis by 3 and the Browns by 2. And those are 2 games that they gave away. They have a plus 17.7 differential. He's got a 110.6 rating, averaging 3 yards a game and about 2.5 touchdowns a game, completing 69% of his passes. That is crazy.
He's been every bit of reliable this year.
Yes.
You can ask for from your starting quarterback, let alone a franchise quarterback. I say it again. He's improved leaps and bounds as far as a pocket passer. Mm-hmm. He's still dangerous with his feet. It's funny because each year when you do your NBA predictions, your NFL predictions, even just for the regular season, sometimes you're taking into account last year. Sometimes you are taking into account the leaps you can make. And it's even harder to do that before the postseason. You take what you've seen all season. But Lamar really does have another level or 2 he could go to as a player that we've never seen. I mean, I'll say it again. We got robbed the last 2 seasons of seeing what Lamar could do in the postseason due to injury, unfortunately.
Yep.
So, hey, you can't tell me he's not hungry. I mean, shit, John Harbaugh just saw Jim Harbaugh win tonight versus Alabama. You don't think he wants to add another notch, at least get to the AFC Championship game?
Of course, yeah.
This year, so, and you're going to have that at home, right? So, Look, I mean, it's all on a platter for them. We've been saying that all year. You mentioned those stats, Keenan. I remember hearing one, and I'm sure it's remained the same. This was a few weeks back I heard it, but they've had the lead at some point in like every single game.
They've held the lead in the fourth quarter in every single game. There has not been one game. Like, the 3 games they've lost is because they gave them up. Mm-hmm. They gave the game up to the Steelers. They gave the game up to the Browns. They gave the game up to the Colts. They have not, like, really been beaten this year. Like, the 49ers obviously got beat by the Ravens and by the Bengals. The Dolphins have been beat. Like, every team has been beat. The Ravens have lost, clearly, and that's to faults of their own. Throwing interceptions. Lamar had one late against the Steelers, had one late against the Browns. I think he fumbled late against. So he had mistakes early in the season. He's cleaned all those up. Because my favorite thing to do is do like kind of cross sport comparisons. My favorite thing to do with Lamar is compare him to NBA players. Because I feel like obviously I compared this season kind of like to AI season because of the statistics. I've talked how he reminds me of Giannis. And the development I want to talk about, it kind of honestly reminds me of Steph. And the reason why I say that is think of 2016, 2018 Lamar, Steph. 2 unanimous MVPs. Obviously, that was their seasons took people by storm. Obviously, Steph a touch more than like Lamar's, but Lamar's season was phenomenal. It was 36 touchdowns, only 7 picks. Plus, he went over 1,000 yards rushing. He was on another level. But in my opinion, 16 Steph, obviously in the regular season, as great as he was, I think in 2022, last year was the best we've seen Steph. I don't think you get a game for 43 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists in Boston, game 4 in the finals in 2016 at that point. I don't think his body was strong enough for it. I think that he was still, his mind wasn't there with his physical attributes. And I think with Lamar right now, his pocket presence, his awareness, the way he throws the ball is much better than it was in that MVP year, even though obviously those are statistically they're each of their best seasons. So I think that, and we'll see this postseason with Lamar, because obviously he could play one terrible game, and we're going to be talking about like, man, he is 1-4 in the playoffs right now. Can't seem to get it done. But he feel like that jump that he's made after having such a phenomenal season kind of reminded me of how Steph, I feel, made a jump because he just became a better player. I think in 2022 was peak Steph.
I see the comparison. I don't necessarily see I see where you're going with it. I don't necessarily see the Steph Curry or the Iverson aspect, but we talked about that last time. Mm-hmm. I do like the Giannis comparison.
Well, Giannis to me, I think that Lamar is Giannis. Like, I just think like they are, but I just meant the development of how they are. And even if you wanted to say Giannis's development from his first MVP to like the way when he won the finals, and obviously he developed as who he was. But
that's where I see the comparison because, Giannis came in and it was like, what the fuck is this guy? Like, if he gets any sort of anything, he's going to be something. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what happened. He still needs a jump shot.
But see, and that's where I kind of went more with Steph in it. Because Giannis, if Lamar would have gotten and won a Super Bowl without really becoming much better as a pocket passer, then I could see more Giannis. Because that would have been like, his legs really made him be a Super Bowl champion. As like Giannis's like physicality really made him into that, even though I think he went 16-18 in Game 6 when he dropped 50. But like just because of how obviously unanimous MVPs kind of makes it cool too. But like the way they kind of made steps and really developed their game after already doing something at like the greatest of all time level, Lamar running, Steph shooting, and then like they took more and they kind of expanded upon what they could do best.
I see what you mean, but his cross sport comparison is right there though with Mahomes. I mean, Mahomes, he very much plays for the home run like early Steph did.
Yeah,
and Steph still does, but I mean, especially early Steph. Like,
yeah,
he's always playing for the home run.
Your cross sport comparison, I think Lamar is Giannis, Mahomes would be Steph. I just think the development in the career is more so what I'm comparing rather than exactly the player. And like I see Steph kind of like the way he stepped in Lamar, but like cross sport, you're completely correct. Mahomes is Steph. I think that Lamar is Giannis. Lamar has been Giannis, like reminded me of Giannis.
With Steph though, he already had that ring early in his career.
Yeah,
Lamar ain't got the ring yet.
Yes.
But to add to Lamar, as I said with the Eagles, how they're not playing their best football right now.
Mm-hmm.
Lamar's playing some of the best football of his career right now.
Yes,
and he is so smart. Like, he doesn't force anything.
No,
he might give you. Whereas Josh Allen, it seems like Roger was saying the other day, Josh Allen's going to give you one pick. Like, he's gonna turn it over at least once. Like, you can almost guarantee
which is why he's Favre. Favre's going to throw you 3. Did you catch him or not?
Favre will throw you 3 or 4.
I mean, Josh is going to throw you 2. It's just, can you make the play on him?
Lamar might throw you a dumb one every now and then, but by and large, I mean, he's smart with the ball.
Yep.
He's going to be dangerous. I mean, the way Hurts was dangerous for Philly last year, as far as game management and clock management, if Lamar's going to use his feet even more, it's going to open up a different dimension for them.
Yeah.
Especially the way he's throwing the ball, and especially in the fourth quarter if they're up 7, and he starts saying, okay, it's 2nd and 4. Yeah, I am going to do a QB draw here. Or I'm going to call my own number here. Like, that's just, like, what are you going to do? He's at least getting 2 yards on the scrambles. Or at least getting a 3rd and 2. And he's probably getting that first down. So yeah. I'm very excited to see Lamar. It's been long overdue. It's shocking that it's been 2 years that we haven't seen him in the postseason due to injury. Hopefully, I don't jinx it.
Yeah, hopefully.
So, I mean, hopefully nothing happens in the Saturday game. But
another comparison would be that Steph missed 2 playoffs in a row before getting back to that championship run. But that's just in fun. I was funny thinking about it because like he really did miss like with a year with a broken wrist and lost in the play-in, and then Lamar obviously last year this match too. But that's just funny to think about that compared.
And then if we're talking this weekend, just to get back to the playoff pick,
of course,
the Bucks. I'd said literally I picked against the Bucks this week, and but my only reason was because that's just the way the NFC South has been.
You had there was no statistical or like analytical breakdown. It was just like, yeah, I'm going with the Saints. You had the Saints by like double digits, and you're like, yeah, it's just because it's the NFC South.
And they were up. They were shutting out the Bucks most of that game. The Bucks actually made a run of it, and look, the Bucks got the Panthers this week. If they lost, this would be reminiscent to what was it? Was it with Wentz on the Colts when they had the Jags in the Urban Meyer year, right? And they lost it. All they had to do was win, and they lost to the worst team in the league. So
they lost to the Jags. They lost to the Jags, and they couldn't make the playoffs. And you're like, oh man.
So if the Bucks lose
and Dan to Carson Wentz really,
if the Bucks lose to the Panthers, they don't deserve to be in the postseason. I don't see that happening. I think we'll both end up picking the Bucks this week, and I actually hope the Bucks. I think the Bucks would give, everybody in the NFC the best game, whether it's the first round, whether they happen to make it the divisional round, and I do think the Saints have the talent to do it too. But Dennis Allen isn't the greatest coach. He's just whatever.
I trust Baker Mayfield more than I trust Derek Carr. I do like.
I think Bull should keep his job too. I don't want to see him.
Yeah, no, I don't. I don't think.
Pretty damn good job.
I don't think he needs to lose his job at all. This going into the year, this roster wasn't a roster that we felt was going to be a playoff team. Like we thought it could possibly be, but I know a lot of people were predicting like 6-7 wins for this team, and they might win the division. So people thought the Saints were going to run away with the division for the most part. That were betting. Listen, I thought the Saints were going to by default win the division, and maybe Atlanta was going to be second, Tampa was going to be third. So I can't. Baker's played better than I expected to. This team's look more cohesive than I expected to. So they absolutely could. And I don't think Bowles should lose his job for that at all.
Absolutely. And I can't wait. Week 18's got a lot of intriguing matchups. Not as much as you'd like. Like you said, it seems like there's a lot of one-team scenarios as far as the playoff goes.
Yeah.
In the case of the Saints and Falcons, if the Bucks do happen to lose, I mean, anything's possible. That's going to be a de facto divisional championship winner game, Falcons and Saints. So I don't think it'll matter, but
it shouldn't. But
who the hell knows?
All right. So, Kyle, it's 2024.
It's 2024.
It is 2024. As we do every year. What were some of your biggest moments? Do you have some sports moments that you want, that like the first ones that come to your head for 2023?
The first moments that come to my head, I only had 5.
Yep.
And I didn't really dig too deep into it just because, I don't know, we've been pretty busy down here, I guess. I don't know. But the ones that came to mind, we had a good Super Bowl this year.
Yep.
So it ended poorly, I think, with that call. Or it ended anticlimactically, I should say, with a short field goal. But by and large, it was a great Super Bowl. It was entertaining. It was high scoring. I had the in-season tournament. I thought that was a breath of fresh air.
Yes.
And you know what? I'll even throw in, just because we just see him do scary stuff every night, and he's still 19. His team's not playing well. But I'll throw Wemby coming to the NBA.
Yes.
That's been refreshing.
Yes.
And then I have 2 interconnected UFC moments. I think my most insane reaction, I said this at the time when it happened, was when Adesanya knocked out Alex Pereira in Miami. That was such an insane moment. That was the knockout of the year in the UFC as far as moments go. I mentioned a couple podcasts ago, featherweight Josh Emmett knocked a dude out into a seizure. That was probably the most brutal knockout. So that would probably win knockout of the year most places if it wasn't for that Adesanya knockout.
Yeah.
And then, so Adesanya wins that title at middleweight. He eventually loses to Sean Strickland, which that was crazy. But Alex Pereira, actually, he moves up to light heavyweight.
Yep.
And he just recently won the light heavyweight championship, which is crazy because he came to the UFC 2021 maybe, and he already became a division champ.
That's crazy.
In two different divisions, right? So
that's crazy.
Throwing that up there, he won that in pretty explosive fashion. He's a knockout artist. That was up there. I believe I had one more that pertained to the NBA.
You want me to go on a couple? Okay, go on.
LeBron scoring record.
Yep, I was gonna say that was the first one I was gonna touch upon. LeBron
that was a
scoring.
genuinely cool moment.
Yeah, no, that was a very, very cool moment. Because and the good thing was he was rolling all game. It wasn't one of those games where like he scored like 6 and had to score in the 6th. Like he was rolling and got it like in the third quarter. So that was a really cool moment. That was one. Caitlin Clark's 41, 8-6 against South Carolina in the Final Four, and then that national championship game against LSU. Those two moments, especially that Final Four one, because going in, it was really like a one-man Caitlin Clark versus South Carolina, who hadn't lost all season, and she went in there and was a superhero. So that was another huge moment.
I saw she was the first Division I men or women's player to have 3,000 points, and I believe it was 9,000 assists, 900 assists, 800 rebounds.
Yeah, like she's going. All she has to do is score 5 points less than her average this year for the remainder of the season to break the scoring record. So she's gonna literally, like, she needs to average like 24 to get that, and she's averaging close to 30 right now. So she's gonna, barring injury, knock on wood, absolutely, she's gonna break the scoring record. She has like 40-point triple doubles. Like, those are just things that she drops randomly. Like, a lot of her stats that I've been seeing lately have been like LeBron comparisons cross sport, because that's like the only, or cross I shouldn't say sport, but cross league. There we go. That's the word I was looking for.
Cross genders.
Cross gender or cross league. So like, because with her you can't really compare her to any WNBA player. She's gonna have statistically, and like the number she puts up, she's gonna have the best collegiate career ever for a woman, but she's not gonna have the best ever, because that's Breanna Stewart, because of what she did. Like, Breanna Stewart,
and Maya Moore.
And Maya Moore was great, but Breanna Stewart even took it a little step higher, because she lost like 3 games. She won like 3 national championships, 2 most outstanding players. Like, Breanna Stewart was a little bit more than Maya Moore, which is crazy to think that, because Maya Moore, I think, 1-2, lost like 5 or 6 games, and was the most outstanding player, I think, twice. But yeah, so Caitlin Clark, those moments were huge. I had the AFC Championship game last year. I actually really liked the, even though it was a lower scoring one, that one was just Chiefs-Bengals, built up a rivalry. Bengals had beat the Chiefs the last 3 times. Were the Chiefs' kryptonite. They went in, controversial call at the end, but it didn't like make the ending that anticlimactic, because of the fact that Butker still had to hit a field. Like,
Did a little bit.
It was a little bit, but it wasn't as much as the Super Bowl. Let me say,
right.
It was less than the Super Bowl, but so that was another moment I had. I don't even have to look for these ones. Steph's 50 points in Game 7. Jason Tatum's 51 in Game 7. Those were two, because I never thought you hadn't seen a 50-point Game 7 ever. Steph does it against the Kings in Sacramento, and then Jason Tatum's going to be like, okay, I'll one-up you, and do it in Boston against Philly. So those were 2 moments as well.
I would throw that out there for the 2023 NBA playoffs as a whole.
Yeah, that was a really good. I was going to say, because I actually had another moment from that one. I had the Bucks Heat Game 5. Jimmy had 4. That was him coming off of his 55. He had 42. Giannis had 38. But that was the tip where Giannis looked scared, didn't want to touch the ball, and then they lost, obviously, because he had the 8 beating the 1. And so, like, that's obviously a historical moment. Plus, the game was 128 to 126, so that's also historical too. So, like, that was another game specifically I had there. But you're right, the NBA playoffs were really good playoffs. They were really good playoffs.
They were up there.
Yeah.
Keep going with your more that I would add.
So, I brought this one up because it was like, I remember watching, it's kind of crazy. Georgia beating Ohio State last college football playoffs, because it happened literally as the clock, as the clock struck 12. So like, it was like Happy New Year, kick up and good for Georgia to be, or for a kick and missed for Ohio State to lose to Georgia in a game that Ohio State I didn't think even probably should have been in. 2 things. I tried to go across like a lot of sports. Game 4 WNBA, Asia Wilson had 24 and 16 to beat the Liberty 70-69 to go back to back. And then Ohtani signing with the Dodgers just because that contract, that's $700 million. And then another baseball moment was Ohtani striking out Mike Trout in the World Baseball Classic to end it. That
was a cool moment.
That was a huge. I mean, that was the 2 teammates. And obviously, it's the U.S. and then Ohtani happens to strike out. So like the best American player happens to get struck out by the best player in the league, and it's like, okay, that's kind of cool. So that's a moment. It really, for like all baseball fans, that's a true moment. So I wanted to bring that one up.
I'm not sure if Trout is still the best American player though. That'd be my only thing.
He's right up there. It'd be him. I know Mookie's close. There's some other players as
Mookie's
well.
Probably better than him.
I was gonna say there's
Mookie
a couple others.
He can play infield, outfield.
Yeah, so I was gonna say, So Mookie, I was gonna say, there's conversations to be had with other people, but he's on a very short list. I'll say he's on a very short list of American players, and then Ohtani's just the best player that we don't need to argue, obviously.
I was actually going to say that as well. I didn't want to include it because it seemed kind of phony, but that was one of the biggest stories of the year to me. Was signing with the Dodgers.
We're sports fans. I know we don't really cover baseball that much, but I mean, you grew up watching and liking baseball. So did I, and Ohtani's a freak. So like that's a freak of a contract. He's a freak of a player, and I've gotten a little bit more into baseball because of my shout out Nady, because of my friends in Florida.
For sure, yeah. No, the contract in general, the fact that he's got the majority of it deferred for after his career, and he's going to be playing, almost on a minimum contract, and that's going to allow the Dodgers, again, in a league where there's no salary cap anywhere, where they can go out and get anybody anyway.
Yeah, so they got that, I can't even pronounce his name, but that number one Japanese prospect. Between them, the contracts together is over $1 billion.
They could very well go on a early 2000s, late 90s type of Yankees run as far as just going to get these superstars. I guess that'd be more so the early to mid 2000s Yankees, because the 90s Yankees were a little more farm system, I guess.
Yeah, they're a little more homegrown with Jeter and then Boone and everyone up. And then like when you're talking when they got like A-Rod and they were just throwing, because that was basically when they're in their own Cold War arms race with the Red Sox. Because we raced them, we got Dice K, and after year one, we're like, yes, Dice. We stole one from the Yankees, and then it was like, oh man, Dice K was like, all right. After that, wasn't great. Had a couple obviously moments, but like nothing great.
I'll say this: like the Dodgers obviously should make the playoffs, so I mean that alone will have me watching the Dodgers. Ohtani and
you haven't seen Ohtani in a meaningful game yet.
That'll get me to watch I usually try to watch like an inning here or there and see if it keeps me. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, Ohtani in the postseason, I'll be watching some baseball, barring that he's not injured.
Of course.
So yeah, I mean that was a big story to me, and I do wonder if that's going to send a trickle down effect with sports with these deferred contracts. I don't necessarily see it. I think Ohtani's cut from a different cloth, but that's something sports fans have always hypothetically said, like, hey, why don't more players take a pay cut if they're getting all these endorsements?
And it's baseball, so where like it's the safest of all sports, but also it obviously has the most dangerous like aspect of it, because obviously getting hit in the head with a baseball is like probably the most dangerous act in all of sports. Like obviously like a hockey stick or a hockey blade to the neck or something like that's like right up there, but like obviously like depending on how the hockey blade what happens to it, but like a baseball to the head can obviously be catastrophic, especially if it's coming off of the bat at like 110 at a pitcher. So like it has the most dangerous aspect of that, but the game itself is the least taxing out of all team sports. You're not going to have the same taxes like basketball, especially football or hockey. So I'm assuming that's probably why, especially in the football and hockey aspect, to where you're like, nothing's guaranteed for me, so I'm not gonna. And I know what you're saying though. Like you could defer it to make it like it's guaranteed in like these years, but at the same time, people kind of like what they have now. So I guess
definitely. Well, I mean it more so as a lot of these athletes like Ohtani. Like if you're the Ohtani of basketball, it would be LeBron.
Or Steph, like LeBron, Steph,
any of these players,
Luka. They
very well could defer their contracts to where you could. I mean, they make more than enough money off the court to where, especially the NBA, where your contracts are guaranteed.
That's I've never understood that for my sake, because I would always. I mean, we're also me specifically for sure see what Tom Brady's doing. So Tom's going to be like anywhere from like the 8th to the 15th highest paid quarterback typically from a time to time. Like he's going to take money, but he's not going to take the highest amount of money until obviously so he can get his weapons so he can go win, because in the long run, him winning 7 Super Bowls is going to be more profitable than whatever contract he got at that time. Because, again, him winning Super Bowls gets an endorsement and all of that kind of stuff. But I've never understood why players don't, like, you can take here, just take there to give other people a little bit. I know you're supposed to feed your family too, but I mean, like,
Difference between 50 million and 20 million.
Yeah, like
at that point, when you got endorsements, it's really not that much.
Yeah, like it's like, and I get it. Like, people get your money when you can, but like if I can take a little bit of a discount, like I know you're gonna go use that to help me win, and that's gonna be more profitable for me anyways. Like whenever they're going to announce you, and even for other like kind of lower tier people, like whenever they're gonna announce you, it's gonna be like, hey, Super Bowl champion X. Like there was Tom Brady, it's going to be 7-time Super Bowl champion Tom Brady, 3-time MVP Tom Brady. Those are how you're going to announce him, and it's cooler. 7's cooler than 3. Like, obviously, 3 is amazing. Don't get me wrong. 3 is elite company, but 7 makes you a 101.
I think I brought this up on the podcast. Maybe I didn't, but I remember someone brought it up on Instagram, or maybe it was Gilbert Arenas, but it came up. It was like, would you rather make $500 million in your career, or would you rather make some like $50 million but have 7 rings, like basically a Robert Horry type career? And there was a lot of people in the comments who were like, 500 million, I could feed, generations of my family. And I made the point, and a few other people made the point, like 50 million is also more than enough to feed your family, especially,
invest it, do smart things. Like,
you play to win the game at the end of the day. I'm not a professional athlete, but I would hope most players would want to do that. It doesn't seem like most players are playing to win. It seems like there's a certain few, but I don't.
Of course.
By and large, especially in the NBA.
Of course. I mean, we think about it. We're not. I mean, this is obviously the contract happened for a different reason, but we'd never have gotten the Kevin Durant Warriors without Steph Curry being on a lower deal. And like, and I was gonna say that was different. I was gonna say that, as I said, like that's a different reason. That was because his ankles are bad. So when he signed his contract, he didn't get his lucrative of a deal.
Other factors, not just the Steph contract. Like that was right after the whole media boom contract and everything.
Yeah, no, like everything played together well. But more so, what I'm saying is like that. Everything happening that way, but your in the end, superstars having less money in that aspect, you see they're able to win more. You see a lot in the NFL right now where Mahomes or like Burrow got to the Super Bowl with it, like Jalen Hurts did. These quarterbacks getting to the Super Bowl and having their best teams on their rookie deals. Mm-hmm. And that's because you can give money elsewhere to everybody else. It's a very big advantage when you have, all right, I already have a top 5 quarterback, and I've got 3 years of him cheap. You can go, okay, I'm going to spend money here. I'm going to spend money here. I'm going to trade this, trade that, because you can try to go win quickly and win as much. So if you're a superstar, wouldn't you want to keep that? That's just me. I mean, I guess if I was in the position, maybe it would be a little bit different. I don't want to just say it as if that, but I don't know. I just feel like you could take a little less. I personally, at like my job, if I had to take less to make my job much easier and to get benefits in the end of it, I would do it.
I can't agree there, just because your everyday job's a little different.
Well, yeah, I mean, not my specific job, like but if I'm getting paid very well and I have the opportunity to get paid a little bit less and I get many more incentives further down the line that will benefit me more for the rest of my life, I would do that. I guess.
It depends how you look at it. Unfortunately, again, especially in the NBA, it seems like many players do not care about winning. We've heard even players who have recently retired, not even on some hater shit, just be like, yeah, a lot of players really do not care about winning. I've even heard Oscar Rivers allude to the fact, someone who's still kind of in the league. He hasn't been picked up yet, and maybe his career is over, maybe not, but he's played in the league very recently.
Yep.
And he's someone, I think he's early 30s too, and he's like, man, like the level of players that are in the league right now are kind of immature, and they don't really seem to be about getting better or about, getting a legacy,
Which is why someone like Anthony Edwards to me is like nice.
It's refreshing.
It's really refreshing because he's like, his comment is like, I don't really want to be an all-star. Like he basically didn't want to be great if he didn't deserve to be great. Like it doesn't matter to him at this moment. Like he wants to be great before he gets like rewarded as being as such. And it's like, man, it's nice to hear that he actually like strives to be great. Because for a lot of people, it's like, okay, you strive to do well enough to get that big money contract, and then after that, just do something you like. Just do something you like a little bit, and then you can kind of roll on from there. But yeah, I agree.
I want to add to the best moments of 2023.
Yeah.
Happened at the very beginning of the year, and that would be Damar Hamlin, his life being saved on the field. That's got to be a top moment.
To me, that's the kind of top moment. Like obviously not in sports because like it wasn't a sporting moment,
I mean,
but
it
in
still
sport.
was.
No, I more
was.
so meant like it wasn't a play that happened. It was like a save of like life, and that obviously like that's the biggest moment of the entire year. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, look, that happened on January 3rd of last year, I believe, in a game that very much was going to decide playoff positioning for both teams, for the Bills and the Bengals.
Mm-hmm.
Game gets cut completely short.
Rightfully so.
Rightfully so, but, you know, the NFL is the league in America, and for them to cancel a game, that shows you, like, how serious that situation was, and for, you know, the medical crew, and an intensely pressure situation in front of, you know, you're trying to save a guy's life in front of fans, in front of both teams.
Televised.
You know,
Like,
that's
televised.
That's a high pressure situation in itself, in an isolated situation. Like that's at a restaurant, if that's wherever. That's already high pressure, let alone in front of a ton of fans, in front of both teams, in front of both coaches. Like you said, televised. That's insanely. That's just an insane amount of pressure.
It is.
For them to come through and to remain entirely professional through the whole thing, and most importantly, save the young man's life. It's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely.
It's an incredible story, and he'll probably win Comeback Player of the Year just by proxy of him coming back and playing a few games.
Yeah,
but
he's gonna. I could feel. I hope like if the Bills do go on a run, it'd be so fitting if he made like a game-saving pick or something like that. That'd be so fitting.
Pick six or
something.
Like
a game-winning pick six would literally like. I think Twitter and like the sports world would explode. Like it might just like explode if that was to happen.
Very well might. But you know, I'm glad to see him back.
Yep.
It's an amazing story. I do hate anytime anybody, especially if it happens to be a Bills game, anytime someone's like about to get carted off, like could be for an Achilles or for an ankle, they'll like pan the camera to him.
Yeah, no,
I
that's
don't like that, but
yeah, no.
I get it. But
like anytime anything like serious happens, you'll see Damar Hamlin's face, and you're like, okay, like that wasn't involved. Like we're glad you're healthy. That also wasn't involving you. It's like that one for me and kind of for you. Anytime you said anything about being black in history class and you're the one black kid, everyone would just turn to you always, and you're like, okay, like I'm African American, guys, I get it, but like
very specific. Yeah, we did go to all white schools growing up, so yeah, it was definitely
just anytime you heard like anything like Martin Luther King, like it was really bad for black. Okay, like okay, guys.
What do you think about this? Like, just trying to listen. Not
Kyle, do you have a different perspective than the rest of the class? Why would I? we understand it's bad, right? And we understand this is bad.
You mentioned LeBron earlier.
Yeah.
And I want to say known critic of LeBron, but I've said before on here like how much he can annoy me just with the flopping and shit. And sometimes when he's
Kyle, if you had a label, you'd be a LeBron hater. If I had a label, I'd be a Kobe hater. So, like, it's fine.
I guess.
But you're not. But you'd be a hater. But you're not actually hating. You're just telling the truth of the matter. But like, that's hating.
I really like LeBron. Like, I like
Kobe. I think he's really good.
I'll say this. I don't know what it is, but this season, I've got this like new renowned love for LeBron, and I'm like appreciating him more because like it's insane what he's doing. Because
he shut up. Like he hasn't said stuff about the roster being top heavy. He's just basically, at least I haven't seen anything this year. He's just seemed to be going out there and playing basketball at a top 5 player level when there's no business for him to be playing at that level. Like he should be at max like the 40th best player in the league right now with his age, given his miles and everything. But like Game 7, you might take him 2 after Jokic. And that's fair. It'd be fair to take him 2 after Jokic right now, the way because he's still playing great. And even if you took him over Jokic, like I wouldn't, but like I would still even make sense because of the way he's playing and how many games he's been in.
Yeah, and you notice in the in-season tournament, he seems to be just having a good time. Like, seems to be having a lot more fun. You might have even mentioned it a couple podcasts ago, but like he's acting more so like he did early in his career with the early Cavs teams, where he was just going out and having fun.
Mm-hmm.
And
Brady with the Bucks, it kind of reminded you on that first Super Bowl run, where Brady kind of just looked like Brady just looked.
He didn't even seem like he was having fun. Like they had that clip after they won the Super Bowl where everyone was cheering and he was just packing up his bag. So like LeBron legitimately just seems like he's having
fun,
a fun time. Like he seems to fit the Lakers now. A couple years ago, it was weird that LeBron was on the Lakers. Like, but now he seems like a Laker, and the way Kobe was, not the way Kobe and Magic are. They're lifetime Lakers, but at least in the way that Shaq was.
Shaq.
You can identify them as Lakers.
Yeah. He's like in between Shaq. It's like Shaq and LeBron right now, Kareem, and then Magic, Kobe. Because obviously Kareem was a Buck and then was a Laker, but he was a Laker for more of a long-term period.
Yeah, and I mean Shaq and Kareem. I mean they got more rings. Shaq's got the 3-P, so he's obviously ahead of LeBron, but he's at least in the identification phase. Because
that's more so what I meant, not
Shaq
the actual
level. For a lot of teams, much like Brown.
It doesn't say Shaq got his MVP and his three of his 4 rings there. Kareem got 5 of his 6 rings and like at least 3, I think 2 or 3 of his MVP, 3 of his 6 MVPs there. So like, yeah.
Let me ask you this though: we have 1 hour or less than an hour before we get to the second day of 2024.
Yep.
Do you have any predictions? Give me. Could be 3 to 5. So we'll keep it at 3. And if you got more than that, go ahead. But let's cap it at 3, and if you got more, whatever. But give me 3
predictions?
2024 sports, maybe even music predictions if you want. If you want to go 3 music, 3 sports.
All right, so J. Cole, The Fall Off, will be dropping this year, and it'll be his best album ever.
Based on what?
Off of everything he's been doing. Are we going to talk music at all, like 2023 music? Because I know we're going to post some graphics about it. Are we going to talk about it?
I'm not as prepared as I was.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, because J. Cole,
have some tidbits, but yeah,
J. Cole is the 2023 artist MVP, and he didn't put out an album. To me, like, in hip hop, the things that we've talked about the most were 3 of his verses. All My Life, Secret Recipe, First Person Shooter would be 3 of the most talked about things in rap. He had the feature with Gucci Mane, There I Go. That was great. Like, he's had so many features this year. Like,
was All My Life talked about like that?
Early on it was, yeah. At least from what I saw, it was really talked about. And obviously that song was huge. But, like, obviously, like, the Secret Recipe and First Person Shooter are, like, 2, like, iconic. It's going to be, I mean, I don't know, they're legendary Cole verses. Some of his best ever. So he would be like my 2023 MVP. And like the run he's been on, it seems like he's getting even better and better. And like the album's been waiting, like it's been building and building. So I'm building even more anticipation for it. And I think it's going to be a step up from the off season. And even that's very good. And so it's really just going to compete with that in 2014 Forest Hills Drive. And I think that my prediction is that he's dropping The Fall Off 2024, and it will be his best album. That's one prediction.
You have a month prediction?
Probably around May.
I can see that.
I think it could be kind of like it was for the off season. I could see it being like playoff time instrumental anthems, a couple of them, because like this seems to be what happens. Like every year, like an album will drop, and then you'll see like NBA will just have like a couple beats in the background. I think like Pride is the Devil and Amari were 2 of the ones during when that album came out. But I think that J. Cole around like the May-ish time will have that. That's one. Sports one. Oh yeah, I've had this prediction for a year plus now that it will be UConn versus Iowa in the women's college basketball final this year, and it'll be Paige Beckers versus Caitlin Clark.
Okay.
Right now, that's not looking great on the UConn side. UConn, they lost Ozzie Fudd, so that's one of their three best players. I should say Leah Edwards is great. And so
that's quite a name, Ozzie Fudd.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, I was gonna say she's gonna be probably a top 10-ish pick at guard in next year, I want to say, or if not 2 years from now, I think it's next year. There's a lot of really, really good teams this year. UCLA's made their stretch. South Carolina's amazing. LSU's starting to get back into form because Angel Reese is now back, and they hit in their freshman class. This freshman class is going to kind of be, when they all get drafted, it's going to be similar to what this draft class is going to be. They have some dogs in this class. Notre Dame has one. She's averaging like 5.5 steals per game. LSU, I was going to say LSU, I think it's Michaela Williams. She's a monster. South Carolina, I can't think of the guard's name right now, but she has Kyrie handle, like, for a woman to, like, she's got legitimate moves. But my prediction, Paige Beckers versus Caitlin Clark, because I used to say that that's going to be what Bird and Magic essentially was to the WNBA, in the sense of bringing it, like, how they met, obviously, in the college basketball championship, and then they brought, like, the WNBA up more. I think Caitlin Clark's has already helped do that anyways, and then that's just going to take it to another level too. So that's one sports one that I have. If you have any off the top of your head right now, go, because I'm still
thinking.
Yeah, because like 3 of them was for the entire year, kind of threw me on the spot. So I'm kind of just trying to think about them, but not just say like random things like, yeah, Giannis is going to score 100 points or something like that. I'm trying to actually make them realistic, real thoughts.
I have 2 for sports.
Okay.
I don't really have anything for music right now off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a prediction for music, but we kind of mentioned it the other day.
Yeah.
I would like to see Kendrick drop something just to. I don't want it to be another 5 years. I don't want him to have a Lauryn Hill type career. I do want to see if he's still hungry about this shit.
Yep.
I get he has a different process than someone like Cole. Obviously, Drake puts out music every 3-4 months. But I would like to see, if you want to take a year off, fine. Like, he's been very quiet unless it's a, Baby Keem record. But
from his start to 2017, he took a fine amount of time, like 2.5 years. Like, it was like we're waiting, but like Section 80 to Good Kid, Mad City, and then Good Kid, Mad City to Pimp a Butterfly, that was like 2.5 years. But then you had the BET Cypher, you had Control in between that, you had other features in between that, and then afterwards you waited like 2 years, but then you had Damn, and then he just fell, and then he went on his Frank Ocean hiatus, and I was like, well, what are we doing? Like, the 2 years, you don't have to be Drake, but like, if you were even doing half of what Cole was doing, I'd be happy. Like, Cole's hopping on everything and killing it. If you just hopped on like five songs in the year of 2024 and maybe gave us like 2 singles.
And, Frank's another one who we haven't heard from in a while that hopefully we hear from in 2024. I mean, he's been, anytime he does anything, it's a rumor that he's dropping music, and then he never does. So who knows? Excuse me, I'm burping over here. But this one's probably more specific to me. But Fab's been dropping freestyles the last 3 Fridays.
Yeah.
And they all sound very soul tape-ish. He does this, Death Only Comes in Threes. So he won't drop like a 4th installment of a series. But man, if all 3 of them didn't sound like they should be on a soul tape record, I wouldn't be a Fab fan, because those sound like definitely like they're going to be on a soul tape 4.
Yeah.
It would be weird if it was, but so I hope Fab drops very soon. It seems like he is. It's been a few years. I mean, I'm sure our younger demographic could give a fuck less about Fab. But for me, yeah, I'm definitely waiting on a Fab project. So, and he sounds like he's rapping. He sounds like he's hungry. He's always been consistent. So, would very much love a Fab mixtape, Fab record to come out in 2024. Sports, though. I think Belichick's back. As
we're really getting a Washington, Michigan college playoff. Sorry, Washington's up right now in the 3rd quarter on Texas. Sorry.
What's the score?
They're up 28-21. I hope it's Texas and Michigan. I really do. Shout out to Michigan though. If Harbaugh wins it, that's gonna be big for him. Sorry.
All three of mine have to do with football.
Okay.
One's related to that, actually. So
Sorry.
I think Belichick comes back.
Yep.
And maybe I shouldn't even say that because we'll be talking about that within the next few weeks. I mean, so Belichick comes back. I mean, we should find that out soon, right? You
Yeah.
think? I think Jim Harbaugh's back in the NFL. Maybe with the Chargers.
Ooh.
And then I think Tom Brady comes back to the NFL in 2024. We've heard him talk about recently how today's game has slipped, and he was talking about it like he'd been out of the league for 5 years, like he didn't just play last year, and how the quality of the league has slipped, this and that.
So who does he come back to?
That I'm not sure, but I think when you combine his words, when you combine that he signed with Fox, I think maybe 2 years ago at this point.
He signed with Fox to be 2024 season. So like,
Okay.
he's supposed to be like this coming season, supposed to be his year to be taking like Greg Olson's position.
And I'll kind of believe it when I see it with that.
I
felt that.
I think that'd be fun.
I feel the same way about Brady broadcasting the way I did about Conor McGregor coming back. And it looks like he's coming back International Fight Week against Michael Chandler at middleweight, no less, which that's a story for another day.
Yeah.
But that's at least announced. And I'll still believe it when I see it, but that's at least officially announced, or it seems to be. Brady broadcasting, just everything about it. Again, when you combine Flacco coming back, you can't tell me that Brady's not watching Joe Flacco, who looked not great the last 2-3 years we saw him play. You can't tell me Brady's like, okay, I can't do that. And then he, I believe it was in his notes app. I don't know. I saw something real quick about it. I didn't take the time to read it, but he said how one of his, and I could be getting this wrong because I literally like glanced at it and then took a mental note of it, of this one part I'm about to mention. But he mentioned one of the great moments of his year, maybe, or whatever, was how they threw him a surprise retirement party. And it was relevant because he wasn't planning on retiring at all, and how that kind of influenced his retirement. So why would you just throw that out there? What reason? If you're really happily retired, and I don't believe he's happily retired at all. I don't think. And by the way, if he doesn't come back this year, I could see him coming back in 25 or 26. I don't think he's done it all. I've said it prior. I said it last year. I thought he was going to play this year, even after the retirement. But I've said it. He reminds me out of anybody the most to MJ, and MJ could not quit it. I think MJ would have came back at 50.
Listen, here's the thing. If that's the case, here's what needs to happen. New England, I'm going to a little PSA for you. So what we need to do, we together, is we need to make sure we get Marvin Harrison Jr. for sure. We need to retain Hunter Henry. I think that'd be cool. Kendrick Bourne, Demario Douglas. I think that would be fine. I would like another big body receiver. I think that would be. I like Tom. I think he got used to having a Mike Evans. So if we could find ourselves another big body receiver, that'd be cool. And then we draft a quarterback within in the 4th round at that point, like later on. And what Tom does is for 1 or 2 years, we talk to him there, and then we go win another Super Bowl, and then we have 8, and we ride off in the sunset. I'm going to let you know right now, if Tom Brady comes to the Patriots, I could not care what their roster is. They're winning the Super Bowl. I don't really care. I don't care. I don't care. I sound like a homer. Doesn't really matter to me. He's going to come in and win the Super Bowl because he's going to come in a top 8 quarterback. I'm telling you right now, he's going to come in a top 8 quarterback. Tell me Joe Flacco can play top 10 quarterback right now within the league. Statistically in the way he's playing and Tom can't. Absolutely.
I mean, look, people were going to reach out to Phillip Rivers. The Niners were going to reach out to Phillip Rivers. And we've heard other teams. I think the Saints last year were talking about reaching out to Phillip Rivers. Why wouldn't
something happened if Brock Purdy for some reason wasn't the 49ers future? Tom would go to San Fran, and it would be.
Can you imagine?
If Tom was on we already feel like San Fran's like a lock for the Super Bowl and like probably should win it. If Tom was on that team right now, I'm not sure there's a single person that's not picked. It would just be over. It would. And Brock Purdy's playing amazing. like amazing football. It's just the fact that like we've seen Brock Purdy in situations to where things got a little tough and he hasn't always made the plays, and you're like, okay, so Tom's gonna have to just throw some outs to Debo and make the right decision. I have George Kittle. He might not be Gronk, but he's the closest thing to it in this mod. Like, okay, I guess.
Sure he even posted the IG, like him still working out with Edelman and like Amendola. Like this was last
Brady and
summer,
Edelman
probably.
are gonna make a comeback together. And
Edelman probably not, but
no,
Brady,
Edelman wouldn't.
Brady's still in game shape. You cannot tell me anytime he sees Flacco completing a touchdown pass that he's like, I could fucking do that.
If Flacco gets to like the AFC Championship game this year, I think that might influence him. Might just be one of those things where, okay, I guess. Like, I guess.
I don't think he's done. And if he doesn't come back, I believe it'll at least be heavily considered by him. I believe that. I would like to come up with an NBA prediction, but we do so much of that with our preseason. So I can't really give you a definitive NBA 24 prediction right now. Other than, okay, I'll say this, and this is vague, that maybe here within the next 6 weeks we get a big trade.
Yeah, no, I already had my prediction of Kevin Durant getting traded to the Warriors.
That's true. Yeah, you did say that.
I'll double down on that. That Kevin Durant by the end of 2024 for sure. For me, I said possibly this season, probably this season, he's gonna get traded to the Warriors. So that would be my NBA one. My NFL one is on their. Nope, not gonna say it. Not going to say it quite yet. And the reason why I'm not going to say it is because I don't want to give away further predictions that we're going to have. So I'm not going to quite say it yet. Just a great play from a great player doing great things in the playoffs of the NFL. There's a lot of great players and a lot of great plays they can make, so it's very vague. But stay tuned to our predictions for the playoffs. And
I guess that's with Lamar Jackson.
Maybe not. We'll see.
Any other predictions? Music? Football otherwise?
I'm gonna have a battle rap prediction. Loaded Lux is battling Rum Nitty this year. It's gonna be in a small room. That's a prediction, even though it's a main stage style battle, and it's gonna be the best Loaded Lux we've seen since 2014 when he battled. I think 2013 was when he battled Hollow. It's going to be a great Loaded Lux. I'm very, very excited for it. He's going to be prepared, ready. He's going to take some notes, and it's going to be one of the best Loaded Lux we've ever had. I'm hopeful. I'm very, very hopeful.
I don't have anything for music as of yet. We are getting Kanye and Ty Dolla allegedly next Friday. I think that's going to be an amazing album. That's not even a prediction. That's just, I'm telling you, it's going to be an amazing album. But I'm skeptical it'll come out on the 12th. It's already been pushed back twice. So there's that. I cannot wait for that. I think it'll be an interesting music year. We've heard Drake say that he's taking 2 years off, but he followed that up with the deluxe for all the dogs immediately after that. So it'll be weird because, yeah, it does seem like it's Cole's moment. And it's been... I think he's been quality-wise, and we've talked about this a number of times, he's quality-wise probably been the best the last 4 years out of him, Drake, and Kendrick.
Absolutely. He absolutely has.
Drake,
like, Kendrick puts out quality, he just doesn't have he doesn't have the quantity with it. Drake puts out the quantity, but doesn't always have the quality with it, and J. Cole has both. He has the quantity of the fact that he's on so many features, and he has the albums, but then he also, you can't point me out one bad Cole verse or one bad Cole song. And I could definitely sift through you and give you some Drake songs that could have been thrown away. And I could try to search for Kendrick. I can try. Like, we've got maybe 22, like probably 18 to 22 songs of Kendrick over the last, 6 years.
Yeah.
That's tough. That is tough.
Yeah, so it's all set up. I mean, his last album was great. But if Drake's really completely on the sidelines, maybe barring features, but even if I can't imagine Drake not featuring, but who knows? But it's all set up for Cole to have a monster 24, as he should.
It's about time, and he could also, I feel like he also has like an opportunity to have like maybe like the game's most game-changing verse since like Control. Like he could have something like that in him right now, because I just feel like he's on that kind of trajectory right now, and like he could do something like that. Also, I would love to see like artists hop into a BET cipher again. Like obviously, like they have ciphers, but I would like to see like a Dreamville cipher. Like you have like JID, you have Cole, you have say Reason goes there, even though he's like kind of top dog too. But like you have like a Dreamville go into it. Like they had obviously 2013 is what I'm thinking of too, when Kendrick had his like the TDE cipher. But it'd be cool for them to do those again and not just have a bunch of random people. Then you have your hip hop artists here and there. Not that those people can't rap. It'd be cool to just have your mainstream guys doing it. But
I mentioned this to you the other day, and it's just interesting to me. And I mentioned how Fab, like, he's not completely irrelevant. Like, he's definitely like the people who mess with Fab and listen to Fab, or if you're saying the New York hip hop, like you're aware of Fabulous, right?
Yep.
Nicki Minaj, her album dropped 2 weeks ago, maybe.
December 8th, so like about a month ago.
And I feel like it came and went. And it's interesting to me because anytime she does anything, like I'm talking like if she just does an IG live, it's like top trending on Twitter. Like her fans are much like Rihanna's fans, or much like Taylor Swift's fans. Like the Barbs are fucking insane, or Beyonce's fans even. So she's very much relevant on social media.
On the album,
and she still puts out quality music. Like I haven't heard anything back from her. Like she definitely puts out her dance tracks here and there, but she can still rap. She's still in the Nicki Minaj.
Yeah, the album was pretty solid. I liked it.
I didn't listen through it.
I liked it.
I downloaded the songs that had features, like the Cole verse and all that, and I listened here and there, and it sounded quality. But are you getting the same vibe that it kind of just came and went?
Yeah, no, you haven't heard really too much of it. Like it's been. All right, Nicki dropped an album, Pink Friday 2, and you felt it was going to be even bigger because obviously, like...
It was a sequel album?
It was a sequel album to what I consider her best album, but also it was her most hip-hop album, and maybe, like, because, But again, she had, like, songs for everything. So, like, I just figured you would hear more of it. Like, I don't even hear it all that much on the radio. I hear some like more of her features, like either Ice Spice or Lil Uzi Vert or whatever. Like I don't really see a lot of her songs. The only one that's really I hear so far is Needle with Drake, and that has more of like a dancey-ish kind of feel to it, kind of like where Drake's sound, like he took a lot of it during 2016 on Views. It kind of has that more bounce to it, where it makes sense as to why it'd be a song that people would listen to.
She's really interesting to me because, again, she seems super relevant from a social media standpoint. She's undoubtedly maybe the biggest female hip-hop act ever. And you could argue that there's better rappers. Like, I could say Lil' Kim or Foxy are better rappers.
Rhapsody's a better rapper.
And Rhapsody, especially for today's.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's a debate, too. But, yeah, Rhapsody's definitely lyrical. Rhapsody can definitely spit. But when Nicki's on her bullshit, I mean, come on. I mean,
no, Nicki's up there. Like, she's absolutely there. But, like...
But I was thinking
like, Rhapsody, I'm just thinking about some of her verses that, like, her on Kendrick's song on To Pimp a Butterfly. I can't think about it. I can't think of the name of it right now. And then she has a song on Reason's album that she has the verse of the entire album. Like, Rhapsody can obviously just, like, rap. But I think her rapping ability, she's a little bit better than Nicki. But, like, Nicki has that, but she has more presence. Like, Cardi B obviously has more presence than Rhapsody, but she doesn't have, like, the rapping capabilities that Rhapsody does, of course.
And that's kind of taking it to why she's interesting. Like, I saw... happened to see Missy Elliott on the news. Not that I watched the news, but they were talking to her about, like, because she's getting inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which is essentially the Music Hall of Fame. I don't really know why it's just called the Rock and Roll.
Yeah.
That's a conversation for another day. And Missy Elliott as a talent is just super talented. Like, she's very much like Busta Rhymes as far as she's lyrical. She can give you dope music videos. She can dance. She can even sing. Like, Missy's just a super talent. But I mean, her heyday was the mid to late 90s. to the early 2000s. 2010s, she obviously fell off. She took a break, though. I mean, she definitely she wasn't trying to be relevant in music. Nicki, the first we really hear from Nicki is probably 2009.
Yeah.
And now we're 2024, and she's still very much relevant.
Yeah.
And, you know, she's kind of known for being insecure of the new female rappers, but she's just interesting because, like I said, when she wants to go, she can go as far as rapping. Like, she can just snap. And she seems relevant. And then you got someone like Cardi, who I've said, I don't know if Cardi will ever put out another album. I saw she debuted some music in Miami last night at wherever club her and Offset were at. But, like, I mean, we see it from Cardi every year. She puts out 2 or 3 songs, and they
smash.
They smash for her, and she can just sit on that, which good for her. That's an amazing strategy. We've never seen anybody execute it quite like that.
No.
She hasn't released an album in now what'll be 6 years, right? If this probably April, May, I think it dropped around that time. That comes and goes with no album. That's 6 full years where your biggest star, your biggest rap star for female rap probably, Cardi, has not dropped an album. She's still just as relevant, if not more relevant, than she was 6 years ago.
Yeah, because she drops, I was going to say, her and Meg Thee Stallion now seem to just hop on once a year and drop like a hit, and then she'll drop like another hit and like have maybe like a feature with Offset and then call it a day.
Yeah.
This is obviously a fantasy and it would never happen, but I would love to see, like obviously I was talking to Cyphers, I'd love to see a woman Cypher. If you had like Nicki, Cardi, Meg Thee Stallion, Lotto, and a couple other women like in a Cypher. Just to see how it, because like Lotto can actually rap, Meg can actually rap, Cardi actually can rap, and so Nicki can too. There's other women that can rap as well. But just having all of those, especially the big faces, I think that would be, even just those 4, I think that would be a fire Cypher, and that would be kind of fun, because I think that all of them would try to one-up each other, and I think that could be actually kind of interesting.
It's weird because all of them seem to take shots at one another. I remember one point last year, it seemed like every female rapper was beefing, and no one knew why. But it seemed like all of them were beefing at one point. And I'm not even exaggerating. Like, literally everyone you named on top of other rappers seemed to be beefing in some form or fashion.
So I do have one more question for you.
Sure.
If you were to see a rap beef right now, who would you want to see it between?
So you want me to promote negativity? You want me to promote
what
I want?
Well, I mean more like by rap beef, I more so just mean a couple diss tracks.
Yeah,
I don't mean like actual negativity.
I'd love to see the. You call me basic, but shit. I mean, I'd love to see the Kendrick Drake one. That seems to be there, but neither one of them want to actually admit to it.
That one, because we know Drake can step up to the plate and actually give good diss tracks, and we obviously know Kendrick can do whatever he wants to do. So like that would actually be really. He's throwing subliminals, and then like Drake has been throwing subliminals at Kendrick since ever. Really, it's been forever. The first one I can fully remember was on 6 p.m. in New York. Was like, and that was 2014, but it was probably even before 2014. He was throwing something I just hadn't even can't think of it right now. But that was the first one that I truly remember that he threw like a little subliminal at him. But yeah, I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind seeing like Meek Mill in another beef. I think that would be kind of cool. I just don't know with who.
It's funny that you say Meek. It's funny that we're still talking about rappers from technically yesteryear. That were popular in the 2010s.
Like I just I wouldn't want to see like NLE Choppa and like Lil Baby in a beef. Like that just doesn't sound, or like Young Boy and Choppa in a beef. Like that just doesn't sound cool to me. Like
I just
like Corday would be interesting. Like if you're like talking some newer acts, like Corday and Lil Baby actually wouldn't be terrible because Lil Baby actually can rap. Corday can obviously rap as well.
The state of rap is interesting, and I was gonna continue with it with the female rap because they seem to get a lot of flack because like the 2 most popular right now would be like Ice Spice and Sexy Red, and they promote just ratchetness and whatever because guess what? So did Cardi, so did Nicki, so did Lil Kim. They just brought the lyrics with it, and maybe not as much Cardi, but you get the point I'm making. Cardi
has bars.
A lot.
Cardi has bars with the fact of what she's doing more than Ice Spice.
For sure.
It's more than Ice Spice or Sexy Red.
You hear people complain all the time about the female rappers. You take the City Girls from, we'll say 2018, same time when Cardi really popped as far as an artist. City Girls were big. We heard when they dropped their album a couple of months ago that it only sold 2,000 units. I hope that's not true for them. But again, they still seem relevant online. So I mean, the female rap space is very interesting to me. But I think it kind of mirrors the male rap space too, because although YoungBoy's huge, and you mentioned NLE Choppa, he seems to be huge with the early 20s demographic.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm all the way out of the loop because I just listened to my Spotify. This was the first week in forever I've listened to like Sirius XM radio. You had it on, and you know they had the usual suspects, and we would kind of bounce around. So I didn't really hear the rap stations the most, but I mean they still were playing. I didn't hear a lot of YoungBoy. I didn't hear a lot of the newer artists. It still seemed like Lil Baby. It still seemed like they're gonna play like Drake and Cole and maybe Yachty, but even Yachty's been out for a few years.
Yeah, you'll hear you still hear Chris Brown everywhere. I mean, obviously he's not like hip hop, but you'll still find his way on any station. So you'll see Chris Brown.
So what's interesting, it just seems like since I'll use the cutoff of 2018, it seems like since then, or maybe even 2020, we'll say, it seems like rap's lacked an identity. It's not that the rap game's whack or anything like that. I'm not saying it. Obviously, it's lacked something. But it truly does lack an identity, and it truly does lack a who's going to carry it after Drake. You've heard people say Jack Harlow. He seems to be going more pop than ever. I could be wrong about that.
He's kind of in his Drake, where Drake's just like in and out of. He really is like a mini Drake in the sense, but like he's not selling like Drake, of course. But like in this sense where he can go on this side here and then bounce to this side here and kind of just do his own thing. He's not like truly hip hop anymore, truly rap, but he's not someone who you could take out of rap. He can still give you a verse and like, oh, okay, that was a good verse from Jack. I completely agree with you because it's like, it'd be like if LeBron and Steph are like giving the crown, like obviously because they're going to retire here in the next few years, and then there's just no one to take it.
There's no Lukas, there's no Wembys.
There's no Luka, no Wemby, no Jokic, no Giannis. Like your best player would have been someone like Jimmy Butler, which is really cool. And like Jimmy, and even that's like different. Like because Jimmy obviously is a playoff guy, but he's not your regular season guy. Like your best player in the league can't be Desmond Bane, Jaylen Brown, and a couple others. You're like, okay. Like they're like those are really good basketball players. Don't get me wrong. Like they're top 30 basketball players, really good. They can do a lot of good things. AKA they make a lot of good music. They can do things, but Desmond Bane's not the face of a league. Like there's no even John Morant. Like there's no John Morants. There's no Lillards. It doesn't feel like they all feel like they're older guys. Like Kendrick could be the face of hip hop again if he just wanted to put out music. Like it'll be one of the faces, let me say, because Drake's literally always got his face and stamped here until he wants to leave. Like Lil Baby felt like he was going to do that, and like he probably would be of your newer age guys for the most part. But even then
it seems like he's taking a step back.
It feels like he's just been in his own lane. Like he's just like he's now.
And Baby can spit, but yeah, it definitely doesn't seem like people are like. It seemed like he was about to become that Luka.
Yes,
and it seems like. I know people were saying this about DaBaby because it's actually true with DaBaby that he puts a lot of the same sounding records out, the bouncy type records. But even DaBaby puts out quality music.
Yeah,
his star has fallen for whatever reason. But Lil Baby, I saw that discourse with him where people were like, sounds like he puts out a lot of the same music, which may or may not be true. But I don't know. I would at least say his music still sounds motivated. And I've heard that maybe Baby fans don't believe that, but like his last album was really good. But I would agree it did sound a lot like his previous album.
Yeah, it's still still Drake. Like a lot of people because obviously I work at Dick's, so like there's people who are like 17, 18 years old, 16-year-olds even because we do hire some minors up to 25, 26, 27, whatever. And a lot of them it is Drake. Like they're like, I listen to Drake most. Like,
which
so
has got to be. I mean,
no, but so I don't really hear too many like other hip hop.
Jay-Z was for me when I was 17, where he was the biggest name from the prior era. He was still putting out music, so it's still gonna be Drake.
Of course, I was just thinking like there's not really too many. Like NLE Choppa was one of the people, or like YoungBoy have been a couple of the other people who were mentioned hip hop wise, but like otherwise it's really been Drake. You'll mention J. Cole. You'll mention some people like Kendrick. Still, obviously, Kendrick was more of like you liked him before, and then you just still like him. And then kind of after that, it's like they just kind of just listen to whatever is hot at the time.
Yeah, and
like they're not sexy red fans. They just like they'll ski all the way around the ski all the way around life. So, but they're not like huge sexy red fans.
Unfortunately, like this is where you really feel a loss of, someone like Nipsey or, I know they were going through their beef when Takeoff unfortunately was taken from us, but like
even X.
Or X, yeah. I mean, he was really supposed to be the Luca and all that.
Yeah.
X was really
Juice WRLD.
Like those two, they really had a handle on like depression rap, and that which is, they were heavily influenced by Wayne, but yeah, those two were supposed to be it, and they were taken from us. And where Nipsey, he was in his early 30s when he was taken from us, so we would have gotten more mature records, and we would have gotten certainly more relevant records. I mean, he was coming off classic album.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, he would have continued much like Pusha T's second arc, like after he left Clips. I believe Nipsey would have gone through that with his career. Where it would have been quality.
That's three people who could have been 3 of your top 7 right now. Like they could be up in like that. So that's 3 of your top like 7 to 10 that could have been there that are gone. Unfortunately, very very much unfortunately. So
for sure, no. I mean, look, we definitely miss Nipsey. Like it becomes more and more apparent. Like we knew that at the time, but like he would absolutely be putting quality music out. But you mentioned Meek, which reminds me, along with Nipsey, they put out that Meek and Ross record, which I think that's one of the best projects of the year.
Yeah.
And that kind of came and went. Like, it just doesn't seem like it. Not that it's supposed to. I think that's more so for them. I believe they want to do it for the music, for hip hop, and whatever the numbers are the numbers. And if it's popular, I mean, it was street music. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it was real quality, and unfortunately, you don't hear the music played around a lot. And I wonder what the case is going to be.
There's not a rap album this year that's stuck that's not named Drake, and that's just because it's Drake. Like Drake was always going to have 2 or 3 songs on everything that's going to be a smash. He's going to have a couple songs that are like to the hip hop community going to be fire, and then he'll move on from there. But so he will always have songs regardless, but take Drake out of it, there's not really a hip hop album that like stuck. Or there's not really ones that do anymore. Like I think it's only gonna be your older generation of like Cole will probably have one that will stick and other things like that. I don't think you're really gonna have those anymore. It's gonna be more so just TikTok songs, trends, and then like a song from this artist, because people don't really listen for albums, they listen for songs.
Which has been trending that way for years, obviously, especially in the streaming era.
And COVID did it in, I think, because you just were listening for.
I do hope that album gets its due, because Meek, I've said this time and time again, every project he puts out, whether it's a collab project or whether it's his own, he improves as a rapper. Every single project I hear him. And, Ross obviously has an ear for beats. So just about every beat on that album is fire. Ross does his thing. And Meek did his thing. So I just hope that album gets its just due.
I know we don't have to go deep into it. Do you have a favorite album of the year?
It would probably be... it's funny, I say that, like, those are 2 of my favorite artists.
Yeah.
And that was one of my favorite projects, but I don't think I listened to it as much as I should have, right? Yeah. I still got time to live with it, which would be the case with Her Loss last year, too. I put that on my top 10 albums last year, and didn't really listen to it as in depth until 2023.
Yeah.
Though it came out in 2022. I'd probably say the Brent Faiyaz record, Larger Than Life.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed that. I listened to it a lot when it came out. So I'd say that's not with a huge confidence. There was I got my list right here. I got a list of about 20, 25 even, that I whittled down to 10. So I put Brent's at the top of the list, Don Toliver's album, Lovesick, Travis Scott's album, Astroworld. That was great when it came out, but I didn't listen to it as much as I thought I would. After, I listened to it heavy that first week, maybe 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Didn't really go back to it.
Wait, Astroworld?
Did I put the wrong name? What was it?
Utopia.
It was Utopia. What the fuck I put
I
Astro?
was like, I thought about it. I was like, wait, no,
I
Astro.
just called it my own fucking. Because Astro World was his previous.
Yeah, Astro World was like with sicko mode and all those stuff. Like, yeah,
We throw that on there too.
Yep.
We'll put Astro World.
Utopia. I was gonna say, you guys did a review of Utopia this year, actually. You and Brandon. Shout out Brandon.
Check that out if you want to go take a blast from the past. Vado, V-Day 4, I put that on there. Dave East, Fortune Favors the Bold. K-Tronada and Amin, I believe that's his name, K-Tramine. They had a collab album. That was super dope. That's one of the best projects from last year. And actually, out of all of these, the ones I listened to, this came out at the top of the year, was Coke Boys 6, French Montana. I absolutely love that record. And I probably listened to that more than anything. Brent's is the most recent that I listened to a lot. But that Coke Boys 6 was incredible. And I believe it's this Friday that French is dropping the last installment of Mac and Cheese. It'll be Mac and Cheese 5. And that track list looks insane. It's got Kanye on there. It's got Drake on there. I think maybe even J. Cole, Lil Baby. And I think that's dropping this Friday. So, I mean, I would expect more of the same. Same thing I said about Meek, how he improves rapping-wise. Every project I hear him. French Montana, for the last 5 years at least, has put out lights out music. Like, top to bottom, great albums, great projects.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't get talked about because he's French Montana. But he's put out as good of music as anybody the last few years, and that's the truth. So I'm very much looking forward to this Mac and Cheese 5 release. Coke Boy 6, it's hard to replicate the sound that he had in the early 2010s, late 2000s, where it's just this real gritty New York street rap. It's hard to even quantify French because even when he was at his most popular, he wasn't a good rapper. Like, it was really all off charisma and his slang. And
Dwight Howard on the post, dog.
for real. It's so hard to quantify what made French Montana. And now he really is a dope artist. And he was dope then, but I'm like, he's much improved now. And his ear for beats is great. And he can give you versatility, even the way a Drake does. And on Coke Boy 6, he's been pretty mainstream at some points in his career. And for him to dig back into that just street gritty bag, and for it to not sound out of place at all in the streaming era, like it sounded like 2010, it sounded like 2011, but not out of place. It sounded true to him. I very much appreciated that as a fan of his. So you know what? That's probably actually my top project because I listened to that all through January, pretty much all through February of last year, and I can't say the same for all these records. I mean, look, Meek and Rick Ross, we just talked about that a few times. That dropped in November, I believe. And I listened to it. I've listened to it a few times. Haven't listened to it as in depth as I wanted. I already just mentioned that. But, you know, for French to stick out that way, yeah, that's probably my top project.
Okay. I'll give you a few of mine. Check in real quick. Washington's up 34-21 with the ball, so it's looking like we're going to see a Michigan and Washington championship this year. Interesting.
I'll give you one more.
Yep.
Besides, by the way, Rick Ross, Meek Mill, That's Too Good to Be True was the album name.
Yep.
Ozuna, Cosmo, that was probably my favorite Latin album this year. So
okay. I'll give you a few.
Okay.
Drake's, I do have For All the Dogs on here. I do special. See, for me, I really like the deluxe too because every song that's on the Scary Hours part of it, I like that a lot. Every single one of them, I very much like.
I like the sound of it. I've yet to take the time to listen, which is whack of me as a hip hop fan, but I really have not.
No, I like all of it. He's actually rapping. Like, it's what For All My Dogs should have been. Like, if you put that, take like 8 of the songs out, put those 6 in, reorganize it, I think it's actually very good. I think it goes from being like a decent album to like a very like good to very good album. Doja Cat, Scarlet. I listened to that. I like that.
That was good from what I heard.
Paint the Town Red. Obviously, it's one of the singles off of that I did like a lot. Killer Mike Michael. I very much like that Killer Mike album. He had Scientists and Engineers with Future and Andre 3000. Andre 3000's Animal. Exit 9 with Blast. That's another really good song. Shout out to Dame Dalla. And his is Don Dollar, the album. He's got a couple Lil Wayne features on there. I think he's got a Rick Ross feature on there. He's got some other, like, Dame Actually Can Rap. I like that project a lot. I did have Too Good to Be True, Rick Ross and Meek. Daniel Caesar, Never Enough. I did like that R&B album a lot. My favorite R&B album of the year would have been Jaguar 2. That's Victoria Monet. I did have Pink Friday 2 on here on my list. Shout out to Tori Kelly with a 7-song EP. Tori, I did like that. My favorite though of the year, Tori Kelly, shout out. My favorite album of the year though is Lecrae's Church Clothes 4. I think Lecrae put out probably his best church clothes. So I think out of all those mixtapes, I think it's his best there. He's got a lot. He's rapping on it. I honestly think that since he's a Christian rapper, I think sometimes he doesn't always get the credit that from some people. He's a very good rapper regardless. He really can rap. He's just not on obviously your high end tracks, I'll say, or your very most popular tracks. Those would be the top albums that I have of the year.
Features on that Lecrae project?
He has a lot of second tier features on that. I can give you some of the names because they're not well known.
Because he has songs with more well known.
Yeah, he does. He does have one with Andy Mineo, which would be the highest. What Up RG was one of them. Jordan L. O'Reilly, PJ Morton, Yours Truly, XYZ. So people like that people really don't even know, but they actually all produce pretty good features on there. But he does have some tracks with some well-known artists there. So
interesting.
But yes, I very much like that.
I do want to give a shout out to whoever the DJ was last night. He kind of killed it.
Yeah,
that was one of the better sets I've heard in a little while. Can't always count on a good DJ, and he was pretty reliable, I would say. What do you think?
I absolutely think that he was really reliable. The only thing I didn't hear was Dreams and Nightmares while I was there, and that's the only thing.
True.
That was the only
national anthem. That
was the only miss that he had. But otherwise, I think he catered to all the crowds. He didn't stand something for too long. A lot of good music, a lot of dance music, and a lot of anthems. So you did hear Mo Bamba. You did hear a lot of things that would get the club jumping. So
brought out Turn Keenan. So
yeah, so it was very. It was good. It was very good. Also, I just want to say this too. It's not 2023. My number one album would be SOS, but it came out in 2022, so it can't be on the list. Because obviously it came out.
You just gave it a shout out for no reason.
I gave it a shout out because it came out the last week of 2022.
Did it?
It came out. SOS came out a couple weeks or
it came out in
No, it came out in December of 2022. So
for some reason, I had memories of it coming out in November.
I'll look at it right now, but I believe it came out in December. Yeah, December 9th of 2022. So I had it on the list for 2022, but I've obviously now got to appreciate it for an entire year, and that's the album I've listened to the most. But obviously, it was in the 2022 list, so I'm going to give it a shout out because it only lived in 2022 for not even 30 days.
So do you think she maybe releases an album at the end of 24?
I probably would say closer to 25 with her. I think you could probably hear a big single out of her or maybe a couple big features, but I don't think she drops at least until 25. I mean, the last one was...
she has a silence like Kendrick, kind of like how she did between her...
I hope not, because she had a longer silence than Kendrick. So I hope she does.
She wasn't even on features or anything very much.
Nope, she had her silence until 2022, and then she put out the deluxe For Control, which had a bunch of random songs on it, all good, but a bunch of random songs, and then Good Days, I Hate You came out. She was on a couple features. She was on a Doja Cat, Kiss Me More, and a couple other features at that point. But really after her last album, 2018, after she helped with the Black Panther, All the Stars, and a couple other songs like that, she kind of just went on multiple year hiatus, and that needs to not happen again.
True story.
Because I think she's the biggest she's ever been now. I think she's gained a little bit more than what she was before. I think she really splashed on with Control. Her EPZ was good, but Like, I think she splashed on the scene with Control, obviously The Weeknd, A Normal Girl, 20-something. Like, there's a lot of songs on there that are really good. But then with this one, songs like Snooze, Kill Bill, Low, like whatever. But like, Kill Bill and Snooze are like her two biggest hits from this, I would say. Other than Good Days, I Hate You also are two good hits. And then so from that, I think she's at her highest peak. I think right now she could just elevate and not do what Kendrick did after Damn. Like, Kendrick, I don't think was at his biggest, and Kendrick was his biggest to me in 2013, but then you could argue it was close to it in 2017 with Damn. Like, right after that, he was right up there, and he could have went on a crazy run if he wanted. But then he didn't rap for 2 years because nothing moved him, and quote unquote, for him. So
I think he was probably at his most poppin' during that Damn era period.
See, it's the probably like he shook the game up more so ever than 2013. Like, obviously, like, because you have Good Kid, Mad City, that's a bona fide classic. You have a classic Cypher, and you have a classic earth-shattering verse, all within like 6 months. Mm-hmm. And then so he's like huge, obviously. And then he kind of takes a break, but people are still very excited for when To Pimp a Butterfly comes out. They still remember Kendrick. He takes his break there, drops his little Untitled and Mastered, and then drops Damn. So all of that there, you're like, okay, he's ready. You don't hear from him until May of 2022. You're like, oh, this is so dope, buddy. I'm real proud of you. You drop something like DNA and all those Loyalty with Rihanna, like you charted like that, and then you're just going, I'm just going to sit it out. Whatever, Kendrick.
I don't even know the TDE crew.
You don't.
But
you don't.
Hey, it's officially January 2nd.
Yep.
I got a flight, so we gotta clock off here. We touched on more music than I was expecting.
Yeah, we did.
Football, NBA, a little bit. Gave you a little MLB.
Yep.
And music. We will have graphics for what we liked in music.
Yes.
In 2023.
Yes.
Maybe some tracks in there along with the albums. Like I said, I got more albums than just the 9 or 10 I named. I got like a top 25 list. But it's weird. Like, we talked about it, and I might have even referred to this in 21, because I think 2022 I listened to music quite a bit. I listened to albums more in depth. But 21 was a year where I just kind of like flew by on music. Like, I listened to it, and then whatever. And that was very much this year where I listened to a lot of music, but a lot of it was throwbacks. The new music I did hear, or if I really did want to listen to an album, you know, whether it be live or whether it be podcasts or whatever reason, I just wouldn't go back to albums I wanted to hear, which is unfortunate. But oftentimes I still hear it later, whether it's a year later, whether it's 6 months later. I usually do give stuff their proper listen, but there's a lot of dope projects out there that come and go.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with that. I've found myself in like the mid-year into a huge battle rap lane, and then now I've got a lot of catching up to do on the battle rap lane, so I've like music I put to the side, and then obviously right now we're podcasting. It's the busiest time of the year for podcasting at the moment because you have the NBA, you have obviously the NFL, and then you go into everything else. So music kind of gets put on the back burner for listening. You have to just listen when you can, like your car rides, but not every car ride to sit down and pay attention to music. Car ride. So music's the best from like May to the summer, pretty much. The music's best because there's literally nothing else other than baseball, and no one cares at that point. Obviously, the end of the basketball season, but that days become few and far between. So,
yeah, I find usually there's always music that's dropped at the beginning of the year that's good, like January, February. But I find March till about, all depending on the temperature of the year, obviously, but March through the summer. And then fourth quarter, you can get some good music too.
Yeah.
Depending. Like, we've seen a lot of people just straight up take the holidays off, which is kind of common in music.
Mm-hmm.
It's really common, but it seemed like literally nobody even tried to put out music during the holiday season this year. Whereas prior, I feel like you'd at least get something.
Yeah, like I was hoping for Kanye kind of to drop a little, like his original date, because that would have been cool to have it like around Christmas time. But
yeah,
we'll hopefully have him in April.
You're right. It's supposedly next Friday.
We'll hopefully have him in April.
We'll hope for any time between now and April.
Yeah.
Keith, it's been fun recording in person.
Absolutely.
I'm planning to be back Super Bowl weekend, so we should be able to get a couple shows in, and maybe we'll have some guests. Who knows?
We'll
But
get buck wild.
listen, catch us on Instagram, catch us on YouTube, catch us on TikTok, Warner Brothas Podcast, Live Take, at Keenan Warner, at Castro. Warner Brothas Podcast debates on there. We'll be active on there increasingly in 2024. Almost said 2023. And then keep looking out for Warner Brothas Podcast content. It's going to be a big year for us.
Absolutely.
It's going to be a fun year for us.
Absolutely.
I can't wait. More guests, more fantasy football or fantasy drafts. We got to expand on that. So
Listen, so this year with Kyle and I both being at the drafts this year, the drafts for our league this year, you might get exclusive like content. Like because I mean I have a phone and we could shoot it off of that. We might have exclusive. I have a phone, which is pretty cool. So we have exclusive content from the draft. Could be you could have like real heated live debate from Joe DeZazzo in the flesh about Tom Brady saying ridiculous things per usual per year.
For sure.
Yep.
But yeah, this was the Warner Brothas Podcast. This was Kyle. This was Keenan. I got to get some sleep. I got a flight to catch, so we're out of here.
All right.